morning.
Good morning. Bonjour.
Bonani.
Guten Morgen.
That's it. That's all I have.
Bon dia, buenos dias.
Hey.
Welcome aboard the AM show. Hey.
Hey, good morning, Benjamin. How you doing?
Put it there.
Everything good?
I'm okay. I have a story to share, but that'll be later on the show.
Okay, it's Friday, my favorite day of the week. It's been such a fantastic week being here on the AM show. Thank you so much for joining us and being interactive with us. Remember the social media handles to follow. Facebook on JoyNews on TV and also Twitter it's JoyNews on TV with the hashtag AM show.
Well, there's a lot coming your way this morning as we host assisting editor Kojo Brace. He'll be joining us to review the major headlines from the papers. Before that, we'll be bringing you the news. But in sports today, we'll bring you the concluding part of Muftau Nabila Abdullah's conversation with Black Stars assistant coach Masoud Didi Darmani on Prime Take, and that's what you can look forward to. But after sports, I think I'll give Mapitso the honors on this one.
So after sports, we'd have this week's blunt thoughts, and it's of a shortage of crucial vaccines, Christian Atru's great wish, and the Boku conflict. How Benjamin Akakpo sees it. Also, for the big stories, what do we have, Benjamin?
Well, from there, we'll talk about the opposition NDC, which has opened its doors for members to pick forms to contest the flag bearership primaries. I know, Mapitso, that you've seen former President John Dramani Mahama and former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Duffuor picking forms to contest the election to lead the party into the 2024 elections. But the question is, what are the unique qualities these contestants bring to the table? Do they have what it takes to lead Ghana? Former President Mahama has been there, done that. Does he have what it takes? Has he learned the crucial lessons? Well, joining us for that conversation, Dr. Kwesi Amachi-Boateng is a political scientist at the KNUST. Dr. Sumaila Asa is a development expert and senior lecturer, CK Tedham University of Technology and Applied Scientist. Whew, every time I have to pronounce that long university name, it gets a bit. But no offense, yeah? Also on the show, we'll be talking about what, Mapitso?
Post-harvest losses and how government can mitigate it. Now, it's very common to see heaps of oranges rotten by the side of the road in the Abura, Asebu, Kwamankese districts. That's right. The farmers in the district, after months of hard work, failed to either break even profits from their toils. Now, Richard Kojanyako traveled to that district and would air his findings later on the show. And then we'll speak to some stakeholders on the value chain. Later, we'll go to my favorite segment where you get the chance to join us with your thoughts on the issues we'll discuss on the show, Benjamin. It's going to be a fantastic Friday edition of the AM show.
It most definitely is. And I'll be sharing that story with you later on the show. But for those of you watching us, just stay with us. We have all the news, all the current scoop, all the tidbits coming your way next in AM News. Just stay.
You're welcome back to the AM News. In our first story, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has directed the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensa, to appear before Parliament over the proposed constitutional instruments. Now, the EC was represented in Parliament on Thursday by Deputy Commissioner Bosman Osari. This was opposed by the NDC MPs, prompting some disagreements as Parliament sat deep into the night. Watch Minority Leader Dr. Kasil Atuforsen insisting that the chairperson herself makes an appearance.
We invited, or the subsidiary legislation suggested and proposed to the House, of which we have adopted, that the two institutions should sit together to listen to themselves and also for members to listen to the two of them to make a determination. And most importantly, for us to have an assurance from the two institutions before the CI will proceed to its lane. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is not here. I recognize, Mr. Speaker, that the deputy is here, but it is not the same as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. It is not the same. Mr. Speaker, most particularly, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission has consistently avoided Parliament. consistently avoided Parliament. Mr. Speaker, our concern is a genuine concern. Mr. Speaker, in fact, we are of the view that the issues that we have raised today in this chamber since morning are serious issues that we prefer and we want the Electoral Commissioner to be here, to be the one to give us the needed assurances before we can proceed on this part. But her absence will make it very difficult for us, Mr. Speaker, to accept the deputy to be the one to give that kind of assurances.
Well, in response, Majority Leader Osei Mensah explained that the invitation sent out to the EC did not specifically request that Madam Jean Mensah herself appear before the House.
The invitation was to two institutions, and that his preference and the preference of the majority is that the two institutions should be represented by their heads. The chairperson then gave an indication that the invitation indeed was to the institutions and not to the chairs.
While Speaker Alban Bogman says the new CI has serious implications and therefore the EC chairperson herself must come before the House.
The deputy chairperson in charge of operation is quite high enough, but he cannot be given the assurances that the chairperson will give. In the circumstances, I will be compelled to adjourn the House. We will insist that the EC be represented at the highest level. And together, we'll find solutions to this. It's very, very important for the peace, the security, and the development of this nation.
Let's move on to party politics now. And flag bearer hopeful of the New Patriotic Party, Alan Chemating, says a key component of his new agricultural revolution agenda is for farmers to own processing plants to process produce from their farms. He says this will not only prevent post-harvest losses, but also ensure value addition. Exportation of raw materials without adding value remains a challenge in the agri sector. In an interview with Radio Tamale on his tour of the northern region, Alan Chemating said he was the only candidate who could garner 80% of votes for the MPP in the Ashanti region while making significant impact in the Volta region.
Scores of Alan Chemating supporters singing and dancing. It was his second day in the northern region. The NPP flag bearer hopeful has been meeting important national and party stakeholders. He was at the University for Development Studies where the Vice Chancellor appealed to him to help bridge the North-South gap if he's elected. At the market in Tamale, he interacted with many market women who shared with him their challenges. He said the government is working hard to address their concerns and said if he is elected, he will do all within his power to ensure the challenges are fixed. In an interview on Radio Tamale, he said a core part of his new agricultural revolution plan is for farmers to own processing plants in their farms to ensure value addition and prevent post-harvest losses.
But also, for the first time in the history of agricultural development in our country, farmers should own their own processing facilities. If you go to some of the most advanced economies, that is the key. If you're a farmer, you have access to large acreages, you produce, and then you sell to your own processing company. That's groups of farmers. This is not the old cooperatives. This is talking about corporate enterprises, but organized on behalf of farmers, so that the issue of post-harvest losses will not arise. So everything that you produce will be processed in a factory that belongs to you. So apart from the benefit that comes to you from selling your commodity to your factory, you also get additional income from the dividends, because the real value in agriculture comes from the processing. And so it is unfair for farmers to produce and not benefit from the value chain. That is getting the real value after processing, because that's where the money is. You know, so this is what I'm talking about. And this model alone, even if we're focusing on 6 commodities, agricultural commodities, this alone can bring a transformation to us.
He says he can win 80% of votes for the party in the Ashanti region and also make significant impact in the Volta region.
You need now a leader of a party that has attraction beyond the NPP. Because it is not about the NPP's flag bearership contest. Our challenge is about the general election in 2024. Because if we want to remain in power, it's not about the flag bearership contest. It's about winning the 2024 election. So you need a person who cuts beyond, who cuts across the country, young, old, people from all ethnic backgrounds, from all religious backgrounds, and somebody who you can market to the people of Ghana. And in my very humble opinion, if you put your ears to the ground, what people are saying is that if you bring Alan, that's talking to NPP, if you bring Alan, we'll vote for NPP to remain in power. Even in the Volta region, it's the same message. They keep on saying that we are not against the NDC, the NPP. But if you bring Alan Martin as your flag bearer, the Volta region will change. And the basic logic in politics is that you always need a candidate who can consolidate your base and optimize your votes in your stronghold, and also the same candidate being able to reduce the influence of your opponent in their stronghold. I am confident that if I become the flag bearer of our party, for the first time in the history of our party, I'll be able to garner at least 80% of the votes from Ashanti, or at least 2 million votes from there. This will put us in a poor position in the election to win the election convincingly. We cannot risk having not having the opportunity to present a leader who can guarantee maximum votes from Ashanti. And at the same time, interestingly, by the invisible hand of God, or by the grace and mercy of God, I also happen to have the capacity to influence the votes in the Volta region. And I believe strongly that by the grace of God, I'll be the first MPP flag bearer, if I'm given the opportunity to do so, to become the flag bearer, to significantly make an impact in terms of our votes in the Volta region.
Away from that, authors and publishers in Ghana have been equipped with the knowledge to handle the new Ghana Education Service curricula. Now, the beneficiaries will now be able to transfer the new standard-based curriculum knowledge into textbooks and other instructional materials for pre-tertiary schools. There's more in this report.
A newly developed curriculum for Ghanaian schools by the National Council for Curriculum and Assessments demands that learners' learning opportunities are maximized. This has necessitated a capacity and knowledge building on the new National Council for Curriculum workshop for publishers and writers of books for Ghanaian schools. The workshop will allow publishers and writers to transfer the standard-based curriculum onto textbooks and other instrumental material. John Kwesi Amponsa, the president of the Ghana National Association of Authors and Publishers, explains that training is in line with the association's commitment to keep up with the pace of modern learning and teaching.
Now, the new curriculum is different in several ways from the traditionally known curriculum, in the sense that we are dealing with a standard-based curriculum where learners are supposed to demonstrate understanding, demonstrate core values, demonstrate skills after learning. So previously we were assessing objective questions. Now we are assessing values, we are assessing skills, we are assessing international skills and competencies such as critical thinking, collaboration, digital literacy, and so on and so forth. So what this program seeks to do is to equip us first as writers or as developers of textbooks, to equip us with these knowledge and skills so that we will be able to transform these skills and knowledge into textbooks for our children to play. Now, our role is critical here as authors and publishers, in the sense that if we are not able to understand the changes in the curriculum, it will be very difficult for us to translate them into readable content material for children.
Professor Edward Appiah, the Director General of the Ghana National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, said the workshop will enable beneficiaries to transition to the standardized learning approach.
We find this necessary because, you see, we have moved from the objective base to the standard base. Now, what it means is that we need to build the capacity of writers and publishers so that they can actually transfer the vision of standard-based approach onto the learning and instructional materials. If you are not able to do that, it stands to reason that of the document that we are going to see will still take us back to the objective base. And we think that it's our responsibility as people or an agency that have been given the mandate to make sure we provide standards in assessment and curriculum to do that.
The workshop was supported by the British Council in collaboration with the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment.
And our next story, the Food and Drugs Authority is entreating small-scale prospective food producers to take advantage of the FDA's progressive licensing scheme to register their products. Speaking on behalf of the Ashanti Regional Director of the FDA, Abena Ejapoma Esiama, a principal regulatory officer, indicated that the scheme helps students enhance their entrepreneurial potential. She was speaking at the KNUST 2023 Food Festival.
The festival began with a food bazaar, which featured traditional foods and Ghanaian delicacies.
There's ginger drink, which is a mujo. There's zonko made from millets. There's tiger nut drink. There's pito. There's tamarind drink. Asana, which is popularly known as eliwonyo. There's sobolo and soy milk. These drinks are very healthy and they prevent toxins from our system.
Here with me, you have different varieties of bread made from different tubers and other ingredients. So you have orange flesh, sweet potato flour composite bread. You have high quality cassava composite bread. You have millet bread. You have overripe plantain bread. You have bambara bread, and you have tiger nut bread. So the reason behind all of this is to increase the economic value and increase the nutritional value of bread. Also, we are concerned about the glycemic index of bread. So we are using this different products in order to step down the glycemic index of bread.
This is cupcake that we are all aware of. This cake is made from high quality cassava flour, 100%, and you use your normal procedure of preparing cake to make it. And this is not a composite, it's 100%, no composite flour at 100% high quality cassava flour, and it's possible. So those of us crying that wheat flour prices have gone high, we can use our own cassava that we are aware of to make flour.
The international community at the KNUST also featured their traditional foods to highlight the university's cultural diversity.
So here we have from Germany potato salads. So we are students from Germany and we made like a classic German potato salad dish.
An approach that has been used.
A food scientist at the Department of Food Science and Technology, Professor Dufi Rekumenu, was happy with the numerous food products churned out by the university. She, however, appealed for industrial equipment to facilitate production.
Simple technologies such as fermentation, drying, canning, freezing, and baking were used in developing these products. However, the availability of state-of-the-art technologies such as high-pressure homogenizers, row meters, drum dryers, pasteurizers, non-thermal processing methods such as ultrasound, pulse electric field, among others, plastic-free and smart packaging could enhance research and innovative ability of our students to bring more food products to address specific needs of the consumer. We therefore call on all stakeholders to support in terms of collaborative research, sponsorship, and then industry-focused partnership to enhance what is being done currently.
The Food and Drugs Authority entreated small-scale prospective food producers to take advantage of the FDA's progressive licensing scheme to register their products. Speaking on behalf of the Ashanti Regional FDA Director, Ms. Abenaja Puma-Esiama, the Principal Regulatory Officer, indicated that the scheme helps students enhance their entrepreneurial potential.
That scheme is for us, those of us who don't really have facilities and really don't have the money or the cash to register your products in a big way. It's for the very small industries. I won't even say cottage, they are smaller than cottage. So you come, we help you with the analysis and also the your fees. GEA, Ghana Enterprise Agency, helps you with the fees and we register the products for you.
Members of the Volta Regional House of Chiefs have been asked to harness their skills and expertise towards the development of the region. The President of the House and Paramount Chief of the Anfoga traditional area, Togbega Tepre Hodo, who placed the clearing call, believes this would propel the growth of the region and enhance livelihoods. He was speaking at the induction of 10 newly installed Paramount Chiefs into the House in Ho.
10 newly installed Paramount Chiefs in the Volta region were fully inducted into the Volta Regional House of Chiefs as required by law. They have therefore had their names entered into the registry of the National House of Chiefs after taking the oath of membership, oath of secrecy, and judicial oath. The President of the House, Togbega Teprehodo, congratulated the inductees and urged them to contribute to the growth of the region.
Let us harness the varied skills and expertise that the members of this House possess towards the progress of this region. This House of Chiefs can boast of professions like lawyers, engineers, quantity surveyors, finance experts. The list is endless. I only hope and pray that we all will cooperate, collaborate, and move our regional House of Chiefs, and by extension, the Volta region forward.
Paramount Chief of Botoku, Togbega said the second, who was one of the inducted chiefs, highlighted his plans towards developing his traditional area.
I'm an energy expert. I just graduated from GIMPA. And I have been in the diaspora for some years now, and we're currently working towards bring some investors into the region to help develop the region and then Ghana as a whole. It's a new calling for us as chiefs to be able to come together as a team, to unite, and also help to bring development to our nation. And I also think that we need to be able to collaborate with the district assemblies for a better local governance.
The Paramount Chief of B Traditional Area, Togbega Gabusu VII, promised to run an all-inclusive administration, ensure a united kingdom, and leave behind a legacy.
When there is unity, and I'm sure that once that unity is established in the B Traditional Area, Hokwe will be good. And when I go, by the grace of God, yes, I will be known that, oh, there was once Togbega Gabusu VII. He did this, he did this, he did that. And I'm sure it will be definitely there that everybody will see.
My traditional area is to bring all parties together, regardless, for or against. If I'm able to unite them then I believe I'll be able to effectively lead them, which is what I intend to do. And to be an effective leader, you need to have a unified force behind you. And that's my...
The occasion also saw a display of the African culture and heritage. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News. Oh.
And that's how we cap off the news. But up next
is the newspaper review, and assisting editor Kojo Brace joins us.
Welcome back on the AM show. I, together with my colleagues, will be serving you the news review shortly. But just so you know, the entity making it possible for you to enjoy this news review, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And we are offering free prostate and female fertility screening. Locate us in Accra Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, in Kumasi, Kronum Abwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex, in Takrady Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Enzima. If you'd like to reach us, just call 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, but the start of my fun part of the day with these two lovely people. Samuel Kojo Brace, Mapitso Sebidi, in the left corner, and in the right corner.
This guy, we have to take you to the boxing arena.
Who's that? Oh, yeah. I'll be a ring announcer.
To be with Nathaniel Ato.
Good to see you guys.
Great to see you, Ben.
But even as we've started on a sporting note, talking pugilism. You know pugilism, right?
No, I don't.
It's a fancy word for boxing.
Oh,
so a pugilist is a boxer.
I did a Greek farming. We didn't play. He did linguistics or whatever. Me, bring me agricultural terms and probably we can talk.
No worries. We have a whole lot to celebrate. Let's do this in glory, glory, Man United.
Oh,
glory, glory, Man United.
Glory, glory, Man United. And the Reds go marching on.
Okay, so
we support the greatest team on earth. That's what it is.
Okay, so our sound guy Dennis says, I don't know the rest of the lyrics and I called for it. But Ekra, my friend.
Especially,
you know, Dennis is a Chelsea fan, right?
Oh, you see.
Where are they on the league?
They are
is it 10th or 11th?
They are non-entity for now. We don't talk about them.
What?
Entity. We don't talk about them. I mean, they are not part. When we're talking about, you know,
teams of value, teams that are,
you don't count them
Chelsea,
in.
They bought every player on the planet.
You see, the problem. Sometimes I wonder who takes the footballing decision.
And I thought it's just about pumping money into the thing without any results.
Right now, we are bringing 10 billion.
We have to have time to synthesize.
You know. We are bringing $10 billion investment into Man United, and when we do,
the Qataris want to buy. The Glazers are asking for £6 billion.
You see, I can't wait for that day. Everybody, you see, every team.
They can't see top.
Every team in England,
they'll run.
Their prayer is that United should always remain, you know, in the doldrums where everybody can beat us anyhow. When we are doing better, they fear because they know that when we get to our peak,
we have not peaked too.
No.
We are nowhere near our peak.
This one we are like around level 3.
What was that?
When we take level 4, level 5, and we get to 10.
Mapitso Sebidi, tell me you are not a Red Devils fan.
I'm not. I'm a Barcelona.
Yeah. We commiserate with you.
Okay.
We share in your pain, though we actually don't share in it.
Man don't stay where man don't fall. Get up and come for more. Yeah, so Barcelona.
They should get up and come for more. All right, guys. Time now for us to get into the papers this morning. What do you have, Coach? What do you have, Mapitso? I think we'll start with you. Ladies first,
sure.
All right. But maybe then they say no, men first. I'm saying ladies first, as the saying goes. But when it comes to certain things, if it comes to killing the snakes and the mice and the rest, they say that one day.
Yeah, you said you are providing a protector, so protect me by killing the snake and the mice. Thank you very much. Let's start with the Daily Guide. And NPP, NDC tango over the EC law. We also have 1 killed, several houses burnt in the Wenchiki chieftaincy disputes. We also have referral Pony's trial to CG, and Ghana is a pillar of stability, and the Ashanti Women's organizer endorses Dufour. But let's go to page 6, where Ghana is a pillar of stability, and that's according to the German Minister for Development Cooperation. And she has tagged Ghana as a pillar of stability, saying it is Germany's best destination in Africa for collaboration and partnership on key developmental agenda. Addressing the media, she said, and I quote, "We want to achieve progress for people and enterprises here in Ghana. It is really important to me that the rules are applying on the ground to help those at the beginning of the supply chain in Ghana." We also have the Western Regional Minister who launched a tourism book, and he said it is posed to strategically position itself to leapfrog other regions to become the preferred tourism destination in Ghana. And I really like that idea because, I mean, everybody, when they come to Ghana, we're going to Accra. But like there are so many other regions like the Volta region, the Western region where Kojo Brace comes from, where they are giving you so many great things. Like the Western region has some of the best beaches I've been to in Africa. Well, he mentioned, among others, that all deplorable roads leading to tourism sites or hospitality facilities would be fixed. So the book is called Discover Western Region, detailing the rich tourism potential of the region. I think it's good because he also encouraged tourists who would love to experience nature and adventure to visit interesting sites to learn, feel, and enjoy the best from the Western region.
Well, yeah, it's a good thing he's done, yeah, to have launched the book. He says that roads leading to tourist attraction sites will be constructed. I'm looking forward to seeing realization of that. You know, the other time I was telling you that there are a lot of tourist sites in the Western region, but our bane is the roads, poor nature of roads. You know, so if he says that they will be fixed, I'm looking forward to the time they will, because you can call the tourists to come to Western region to visit the site, but if the roads are in the way they are, people might not choose to come.
I remember 3 years ago, was it 3 years? Yeah, I think 3 years ago, we went to the Western region and we wanted to go to the Cape 3 points, the lighthouse, right? And because it was a Joy FM alongside a travel company or travel agency, we're using a bus, so it's a big bus, right? So unfortunately on that day, we couldn't go to the Cape 3 points because of the roads.
The road, yes.
Yeah, it was terrible. So that means, I mean, if people are excited to go to Cape 3 points, but then unfortunately they were disappointed because, listen, we can't go there. Yeah, we can't access the location. So
look, there are fantastic. Look, there's a place called Butre.
You've mentioned it before.
If you go to Butre, you might not want to come back. You might want to stay there for like a month, two. The place is beautiful.
Serene, huh?
I tell you. Look, you're far away from noise and a lot of vegetation. The seashore is so beautiful. Not like the ones you see in many places where you see death all over. This one is a very clean beach, very wide and long. There is a fort that has a history with it. When you stand at the fort, the way you see the community beneath.
I love the way you're selling Butre.
Because
I'm sure some people are already salivating. Look, they're like, I have to go to Butre.
Butre is beautiful. I mean, the day I went there, the first time I went there, I said, wow, I never regretted driving my car to the place.
Yeah.
And I have gone there like 4 times after. But the road,
terrible.
It's
a total put off.
If we are able to construct the road, the investment that can come to Butre and open up that small community.
And it's same for, there are so many places up north, so many places down south, similar situations. So and we're simply not doing that. So even when, you see why sometimes I say our governance is very haphazard. Even if we decided that, you know what, Ministry for
Tourism
and Culture, Arts and all of that, you know what, we want you within a 4-year term as part of your mandate, or maybe the overarching part of your mandate, ensure that the access roads leading to all tourist sites that we are targeting will be clear, that anyone who wants to go there will have a very well laid, asphalted road and all of that. Is that too hard?
But also the
Is that too hard
facilities
to do?
themselves need to be fixed, because you may have a
We go
beautiful
step by
road.
step. Once the points of entry are fixed.
Because see, this Cove has Fort Bartonstein.
That's another wonderful place.
Yeah.
History. When you go to this Cove, you would learn a lot about Ghana's history, even church. And then you see beautiful things. But the road leading to this Cove is in terrible state. And that's a community that has 2 paramount chiefs. But the road is... Yeah.
You have 2 paramount
Yes. Lower and upper this Cove.
It's true.
I see.
You know, but the road is a put-off. You will not go there because of the road. And you can use the same road to get to Akweda. No, Akweda has 2 town communities. Old Town and New Town. The Old Town is like, if you look at it from a drone shot, it will appear to you like an island. Beautiful.
Okay, nice.
But the road to the Akweda community is terrible. After Akweda, you go to Cape 3 Point.
Yeah.
You know, so it's good he's published the book. He says the roads will be fixed, but let's move from talking to action.
To action,
Look, there's a Domama shrine in Wasa East. Beautiful shrine. There is like a 3 stones, so like twin.
Yeah.
With history behind it.
Eish.
But the road to the Domama shrine is a problem. You see, Ankasa Forest in Zulezo.
On that note, the
okay.
Western Regional Minister, if you're listening to us,
please,
you have your...
We're dispensing free ideas.
No,
We're giving him free ideas.
Here's your ambassador,
Sure.
please.
Western
Your ambassador. Last story I want to take is the film producer picks NDC nomination forms. There's something about Iowa West Wagon that everybody wants to target. And one of them, we know that John Dumelo was one. Actor, turned politician. Now, celebrated Ghanaian actor, producer, and artist manager Fred Numa on Wednesday picked his nomination forms for the upcoming NDC primaries to elect presidential and parliamentary candidates, and he is contesting for Iowa West Wagon.
Fred Norman.
Yeah, Fred.
He wants to contest. I'm told that John Dumelo is now giving up that seat. He wants to go to SAL.
I see.
Akakpo,
and Lolobi.
But you know the constituency has not been created.
It's not been created.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where did you get this information? Because all along I felt he would go back to.
No, we work in the news space, so a lot of things. But I was going to add that it's not concretized from his side.
Yeah.
So he might come up and pick the forms, whatever. But it's going to be an interesting thing. You were talking about.
I found it really interesting when Fred wanted to go because I felt that with John Dumelo having contested and only been narrowly beaten,
he would go again. So it will be. I don't know what would influence that decision to leave the work he's done
because
there
I feel
and go to
now is the time he just might be able to clinch that seat.
And you see, I think the reason why some people opt for, because that constituency is, I think, is the most elitist constituency in Ghana, isn't it?
One of the most, I guess.
One of the most.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the catchment area, the East Legon parts of
University of Ghana.
University of Ghana.
Look,
it's
so
very.
So if you are able to lay down good policies and projects, you get people to listen to you and buy into it. These are not people who come and say, "Give me 50 cents to go and vote," because those guys, they are wealthy. They don't need your 50 cents.
But you see,
all they need is ideas.
Another bit in there, the Ivory Tower, University of Ghana. You see the students now. Politics has. You'll find a very vibrant Tain, a very vibrant. What's the other one, crowd?
So I know Tescon.
Tescon
is for MPP, Tain is for NDC.
Exactly. And I have seen over time that it's usually practically along party lines. You get it? So there, I don't think there's much convincing to do. Most of them, but of course there are the impression. There's always that group in the middle.
That group who would always go with your project and ideas, how they feel convinced by your message to go and vote.
But I think with Sal, first of all, I don't know because it's not been couched yet. We're now looking at doing that, though that seems to be some sort of aberration in terms of our constitutional provision that everyone who has the franchise should not be disenfranchised.
I'm sure it will be created in the long run. It will be. But he will face...
again, I feel that if he does go, looking at the catchment area, Central Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe Lolobi, then it will be feeding into the Voltairean, bit about what used to be the former Volta region, and the fact that the NDC has that as its wall back, has that as its strong ground, and the possibility of overcoming a contestant from the other side would be high.
No, and again, even internally, I'm aware is Edem Agbana.
Edem Agbana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
he also gunning for that?
He's targeting that seat, and he's been targeting for some time now.
Okay.
So if he indeed does go, it will be a competition between John Dumelo, that's internally what I know, John Dumelo and Edem Agbana, and it will be such a fierce one. Because Edem Agbana is young, but he's not a walkover.
That is
with his experience.
He's not.
In the
John Dumelo has also been there, done that, and he has that figure, you know, that stature.
Yeah.
Apart from what he's done as an actor, as you know, a businessman, farmer.
I love him for his farming.
A farmer, you know.
I just love him. I want to have a day to sit down with him and have a chat with him.
Why don't you just arrange it?
I've tried. I mean, someone is trying it for me. You know, I would want to.
How did they go?
We'll work on it.
The person is still on.
Well, because I'm only asking because
there are some young people. There are some young people who will tell you we are not interested in going into farming, and they will list the reasons why.
Okay.
So when I see young people like that who have invested hugely into it, I want to understand them and to use them as probably the motivation source to get other young people to say, no, I think that let's change our mindset towards the agricultural sector, because the labor force in agric, in farming, generally is aging.
Yeah.
And we need younger people to go into the space. So we have to use people like him to motivate others like Ben, yourself.
Oh, I don't need motivation.
Myself.
I'll be going to farming very soon.
Okay.
Me, I'm just waiting for, do you know the things I'm going to do?
No.
Especially because I've worked in the value chain. I've told everybody, cashew, it fetches way more than cocoa.
Okay.
Cashew, cassava, palm.
Okay.
These three for starters.
Myself and
game set and match.
Myself and a team, we're doing cassava now in the central region.
Okay.
And we're even looking for people like you to invest your money into it. We'll talk about that one later. Yeah.
So what do you have? Yeah.
Okay, but there's something interesting here I saw in the graphic and I want us to. Okay. Britain's salad crisis could last another month.
This is in the daily graphic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But give us the scoop.
Let's hear what they're saying, huh?
Britons may face shortages of salad staples, including tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, for up to another month, the government said on Thursday. On Wednesday, Britain's biggest supermarket group, Tesco, followed rivals Asda, Morrisons, and Aldi in imposing customer purchase limits on salad items after supplies were hit by disrupted harvest in southern Europe and North Africa due to unseasonal weather. My concern is that some people are worried they won't get salad staples.
Can you imagine?
We are even facing vaccine shortage. Our roads are poor. In fact, church-wise, we are lacking. Poverty is huge in this country.
Poverty is not a good thing.
Charlie, but some people,
they
have gone beyond all of these challenges that now they worry about salad. I mean, when I saw this, I was like, life is not fair.
You know, it reminds me of, I saw a post on Instagram from a friend who says, you know, he puts a sandal there and he says, this is just a reminder to poverty that this Jesus shoe or sandals is going for 15,000 Ghana cedis. So you see the thing, your heart will put, but for someone it's just, you know.
It's just small change.
It's the same situation here, same scenario.
Some people are worried
about
salad.
People are thinking,
the way me, I'm worried about, Charlie, this afternoon, which kind of fufu, where can I get?
You can think of fufu.
Oh, no. But you see, when I'm thinking about fufu and probably the school fees back home and all of that, someone is worried about salad shortage. Anyway, we have to get there.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get there, don't worry.
And you see, it makes no sense that we've not got there. In fact, that we've not superseded. Do you know, we should be so much wealthier than these Western countries.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them in terms of natural resources. I mean, you can pick out the US, Canada, Russia, because these are vast areas of land. They have gold, they have oil. People don't know that the US, the United States, has one of the largest, stores of gold.
Okay.
People don't know that.
Okay.
China, that's same. Russia, that's same, apart from oil. People don't know this. We often think, and we are just using ours, and there's practically nothing to show. And this gold, mind you, is not infinite. It is finite.
Sure.
So we must think about the generations coming that, Adenosan, what will they come in? Even with gold, we are doing this. Then when there's no gold, I think at some point we discovered, was it lithium or something of the sort?
Oh yeah, we have.
Somewhere in the OT region and other parts.
Yes.
In fact, this country is so rich, practically everywhere you
lithium,
go.
I think we've made some huge findings in Mankasim area.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You know.
And I think, is it iron ore, bauxite?
Yeah, iron ore is
in OT again.
Iron ore, OT, Yendi, upon Maso
like
and all of that. Charlie, this country, I think our problem is planning. You remember the debate about the debate about the 40-year development plan that the Development Planning Commission brought up, that it was like 40 years is too much.
Interestingly, do you know other countries are rolling out 30-year, 20-year, 40-year?
The point is that you have long-term plans and you have medium
within the long term,
exactly, medium term,
short and medium term. Feed into it,
Charlie. But every party will come and will want to do say, and the way we've done our things in this country. That Maps, if I buy you this phone. Yeah, and probably maybe I didn't finish paying it. When Ben comes, Ben would not want to buy you continue paying the phone. Yeah. He would want to go and buy you this one because I bought it for Maps. I think that's a major challenge we need to overcome. So it's something else that when countries have developed so much that now the things that worry you and I are not their headaches. And then we are still grappling after 60 or something years, over 100 years of mining, gold, for example, in this country. Yeah. Then it tells you we have a deficit.
And why we're not thinking and using this avenue much better, because the Portuguese came and took, the Dutch came and took, the English came and took. All these people have come and taken. And what is left on Zono? Look at this gold for oil thing. I don't know whether you followed my conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
When the experts speak to you and they tell you about the dangers inherent and why do you even have to? Because look, I think it was Duncan Amua who mentioned that you're selling the raw gold when in fact if you were to just even polish it, you could get about 3 times the value. Are you getting it?
No. I'm not sure it's the raw gold.
No, it's not the. I mean,
the refined gold.
Yes, no, refined. But I'm saying that.
Okay, like we should add value.
Value.
Okay.
You could get about 3 times, which means with one consignment you can get 3 times more in terms of oil. So what exactly is that?
No, but I'm thinking that as for that one, maybe it's a thinking that we should have because the thing is that you are being faced with a challenge now. Look at how you can solve it in the shortest possible time, and look at long term. This idea, I think long term we should approach it, so that we can be adding value to our gold, and then we can be earning more. For example, in the gold industry, you remember that in the gold value chain, we're told that the value chain is valued at around $100 billion or so, but we're in Ivory Coast. We are chasing some, is it 5 billion or so market? The raw material selling there's the beans. If you add value, it's over 100 billion.
Ask yourself.
So why are we not playing into adding value to our being?
Ask yourself why Switzerland is the chocolate capital of the world. How is that even possible when we are producing the cocoa?
They are buying everything.
The Netherlands, Britain, France. Why are these entities, major hubs when it comes to chocolate? And
do you know something?
We who produce the thing.
Do you know that
they sell it back to us?
Our market to sell our beans is even under threat now, because today as we speak, China
I just saw it coming,
importing cocoa, and their cocoa beans. They have said that the catch is our cocoa is not
unpolluted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's from unpolluted land. So they have their people come here.
Yeah.
Do galamsey. Pollute I'm not saying all Chinese, but pollute our land, and then they brand their cocoa
because they know that Ghana's cocoa is premium on the market. Ghana's cocoa is premium cocoa
worldwide.
So any market player who wants to come into the competition will target you.
Yeah.
And the only thing they can use to, and the whites are so much concerned about land pollution. So they say that our cocoa is not, and they are growing more than what we're doing. We should be thinking twice. Anyway,
not necessarily in terms of more. They are just producing quite a little now, but they have the land, and if the weather works for them, would be in big trouble. Yeah. But let's get into some other stories.
Close to 1 million. Let's
see.
Right. Now, the Ghana Service has assured the public that vaccines for routine child immunization that were in short supply will be made available latest in 3 weeks. It said currently there are 3 out of the about 13 vaccines used were in short supply, and those were for measles, rubella, oral poliomyelitis vaccine, and Bacillus calmette-guerin. I don't know if I've gotten that, but BCG, a vaccine for tuberculosis disease. So Ben, Like I told you, some people are worried about salad. We are worried about.
But you see, that's why I'm talking about this today in my blunt thoughts. I don't get it. I feel that our country, with everything we have, we're so, pardon my using this word, backward. You know, some things are the most basic that you shouldn't. I mean, if you get all other things wrong,
you can't get
the most
wrong.
vulnerable in society, children, and vaccines that will protect them from rubella, all kinds of fevers, polio. You know what polio can do to you?
Yeah.
It runs out, and the health system doesn't even know. It has to run out for it to come into the papers yesterday. Front, banner headline, daily graphic. In some jurisdictions, the minister in charge would have what?
Resigned.
Of course.
Not in Ghana.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Patrick Kumabwa just said that as part of national interventions, funds had been made available to UNICEF to facilitate the acquisition of the vaccines, which were expected soon. Okay, so some
expected soon. Yeah. So in the meantime, all the children who must be getting these vaccines, who are going through the phase, they should wait because soon. And you know how soon our pipeline can be.
Okay. Anyway, but let's celebrate the editor for the graphic.
Okay. He bows out.
Atuafo, yes.
Yeah.
So, good morning to the venerable Atuafo. His name is Kobi Asma. Kobi Asma is that editor.
Okay. Let me quickly walk through the papers I have.
Kudos to him.
Kudos to him.
Kudos.
Kudos.
Kudos. No, I just want you to keep the word kudos.
Kudos.
Yeah, okay. Kudos and cucumber.
And your kudos.
And they can do kudos back where kudos. The Ghanaian Times, chieftaincy conflict at Trepwane, 4 killed, soldier 4 injured, others injured. Women, children flee houses set ablaze. This is another worrying development. Picture there, Ambrose Derry, Minister for the Interior. Mr. Alban Bagbin says, well, registration of voters. Parliament adopts CI to make Ghana card sole registration document, but he's also called for the EC boss to appear personally in Parliament. Ghana EU IOM partner to implement safe, orderly, regular migration project. And Dr. Dufour picks NDC nomination forms to contest presidential primaries. Let me just take a quick look at the story on page 11 and then we'll reflect on the story on page 4. So at least 4 persons were killed in a chieftaincy dispute at Wenchike, a farming community in the Trepwane district of the Northeast region. Another 5, including an officer of the Ghana Armed Forces, were said to have been injured with many houses set ablaze. Several people, mainly women and children, are reportedly fleeing the country to the community to the district capital, Trepwane, for safety. The incident was said to have happened following an attempt by the paramount chief of Trepwane to enskin a chief of Nyangbangi, a farming community near Trepwane, but the chief of Wanchiki near Abuba on early Thursday morning enskinned a different person for the people of Nyangbangi community. Why am I bringing this up? Similar situation in Bo.
Yeah. So
I don't know how we're handling, because Trepwane has also been a hotspot. It has its own problems. And this morning, as I talk about Boku in my blunt thoughts, I just feel that we're sitting on a ticking time bomb. Ticking time bomb, and we're taking it for granted. The peace we have, we shouldn't take it for granted.
I think the Minister for National Security should be doing more than he's doing now. There's need for him to be doing more. Last time,
Albert Kandapa.
How
about the Minister of the Interior? He's pictured here. The Minister of Defense, Dominic Nitu, all those people.
Well, but national security, he should be on top of this.
Yeah.
That's why we have that ministry, isn't it?
Are you saying he's underneath it right now?
Oh, but what is happening shows. But why? We didn't have the Ministry of National Security, did we? So when they created that ministry, it meant that we had a special need. That's why we brought it up. So we expect far better. For example, people, security analysts have questioned why the security setup did not get that tape about the installation in Nalerigo. Because you don't let it happen for the aftermath to occur before you start to spend more money to get things done. We have to be on top of our things.
Let's quickly look at this as well. Parliament has adopted the CI to make Ghana card sole registration document. What do you think of that? And to wrap for me in the final newspaper, who wins Nigeria elections tomorrow? So I see here Tinubu, I see Atiku, and I see a certain Peter Obi.
Yeah.
If I were Nigerian, everyone knows where I would vote.
No, we
should I say it?
Say it.
Peter Obi. Obviously. his drive against corruption, having served as a governor and what he has done. I mean, they say he's stingy, but if he's going to be stingy and still ensure that the public purse is protected and all of that, Nigeria honestly should be a big, like humongous economic. But look at them with all the vast oil and other reserves.
But I think the polls put Tinubu ahead, slightly ahead, you know, because of he coming from the governing APC, right? And he's been around for some time. So, but the thing is that Obi has really been he's brought changes because yesterday was
the difference between, for example, our politicians and Peter Obi is that he has been in governance and he has done what he said he would do.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
So yesterday we were speaking to some Nigerian journalist and a political analyst, and he said that he has changed the way campaigning was done this time around. It has moved from someone coming to sign on a campaign platform and saying, I'll do ABC, to now,
this is what I have done.
And then you ask questions. They probe. Now the electorate are probing. Unlike, you know, in the past where Nigerian politicians will come and stand and say, we'll do, and then they go. Now, because of Obi. And Obi has brought the youthful, you know, side to the whole election. So it's beautiful. Just that I hope that the killings and whatever that are happening will come to. Yeah, sure.
We have to go. Any headlines just to run away?
Well, international criminal gold gang busted in Ghana.
Okay.
Our
gold, dear. Our gold has been ravaged from all angles.
Ben, you know, I understand. I have dealt in the gold space a little. So this thing, I understand how it works. I'm sure their thing is that, Ben, give me 2.5 million and I'll give you gold worth of this. But probably they didn't have it. The white man transfers the money to them, and then, you know, they are not thinking far. Because if you do credible business with someone who can give you 2.7 million, you know how much it can bring you to do business?
Yeah.
A lot, but they're not thinking well. But then they've been busted by the Ghanaian forces.
Anyway, time to go. A very happy birthday to Maxwell Atta. We've worked together in the past. Today happens to be your birthday. Fantastic personality. I wish you the very best on this special day, Maxwell Atta, and God richly bless you. But as we veer into sports, Prime Take will not be able to tell you a whole lot about how yesterday Manchester United sliced and diced, pounced on Barcelona, or if you like, Barcelona, and made them look all kinds of, you know,
they looked.
They felt because they were at top La Liga.
And they come and do what Real Madrid did to Liverpool. No. We are the Red Devils. The proper Red Devils.
We showed them. And they couldn't even score a goal. It was a penalty. And that penalty itself was controversial.
It's okay.
You know we are the comeback kings. The comeback kings.
But you know whenever they play us
let us go.
At home.
Thank you very much.
And before we go, Mr. Director.
He loves
Barcelona posted something before the show.
The time to conquer the theater of dreams. They have conquered their very...
Let's get into Prime Take, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy.
Oh, really? Yes. You are right. Yeah, it was around this time, close to when we were about to play Nigeria. Hey, the time is passing so quick. we are growing older, so we have to do so many good things. So that when we are not there, one day
people will remember
this.
Yeah.
I think that it's just a call to serve.
Who plays the call?
I think it's I think my uncle Alaji Mendi, and initially there was an initial one that I said no, this wasn't the right time because I had just taken over this project,
head of
football, and trying to put this in place, and I didn't need distractions. I just respectfully said this wasn't the right time. And so at the right time, why not? I'll come and support. And so
was the initial call to work with CK or Milo?
No, I think the initial call was to work with Milo. Yeah, Milo.
Oh, okay.
But I said it wasn't the right time because I had just taken over. And so my organization were really scared that I was going to leave. But I assured them that no, it wasn't going to be. So I was I rather would demand to do more work, to create more players, to go in there, rather than go in there and then not creating that possibilities. And I was recruiting new staff from Europe, and I wanted them to understand the culture and then environment properly. They needed a better transition than it would have been, and I didn't want to play more truancy in the system. Yeah. So I denounced it. But the second call, I realized that the nation needed us. The nation needed us, and so it was the right time to really come and support to the best of our ability. And so you know, the environment is a friendly environment. The environment are people that I have worked with and I have known, and we are in very good books. You know, I'm not the talking type. You know, I only talk when the situation comes like this. And so
you hardly talk.
Yeah, you know, it is not important to talk. It's important to listen more. It's important to view, you know, intensely. I observe very intensely. So when I observe and I'm speaking about something, I speak on content. And so when the call came, I thought that I had to also have a way of convincing my organization to know that, and you know, my organization is both here and then Denmark, and I said it is time for us to also contribute. It is time for us to also support. It is time for us to serve. So we have to do it. And so you saw that I didn't contribute just by myself. I still had my technical directorate working. You know, so.
But how difficult was it for you to combine the two?
You know, when I say I had my technical directorate working, means that my staff that are here, still I use them to do so many works for us. I task them to do so many works.
For the Black Stars?
Yes, for so many games, we do so many works here that they have to watch games. They have to do some, you know, clips. They have to do some specific players, some games, set pieces, so many of the matches, and so many works. So people support in various ways. And so sometimes you have just one individual, but you have so many people who are also supporting. You know.
Talk to me. What happened in that dressing room after that qualification against Nigeria? And in fact, what was the conversation heading to the second leg in Abuja?
Remember we spoke, right?
Yes.
And what did I tell you? Tell the viewers. Tell the viewers what I told you.
No, the conversation we had.
Tell them.
Oh, it was not on record, so.
Because you asked, how is it? And I said,
if we get 60% of Thomas
no,
Partey's
first
quality.
I said the goalless draw is the best results.
That was the first thing you said.
I said it's the best result, and then you were pushing me, and I said, Muftar, just keep that one, and then remain very positive. And I said the energy the players brought to stay in the structures that shortly we brought was very, very evident of their commitments, you know, in bringing a change, a drastic change into our football. You know, remember, the aim was not just go and win against Ghana and Nigeria. The aim was to begin to create success, and create success means that you have to build a team.
Yes.
And the process of building a team, you do the right things and leave the others.
They will come natural.
They will come natural. So you don't talk, I'll go and win AFCON. You don't talk about that. You just talk about doing the right things. And when you do the right things and performance comes, results follow. When results comes, the rest will be. So I know Thomas. And then that reminds me, yesterday I was dreaming about him. I don't know. Yes.
You dreamt about Thomas?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
Yes.
And what was the dream about?
You know, he's a funny guy. He makes a lot of funny jokes, and then you don't think that he's the one who is doing it.
Those jokes.
And he was doing those funny jokes with one of the players. And I said, look at Thomas. He doesn't look like he's the one creating it, but he's the one doing it. And then he came to give me high five, you know. So these moments were a moment when in the game, each time he sparks off, you see sparkles. You see it. And I told you that, no, Thomas just played about 55 of himself. And I remember in the dressing room, I said, Thomas, if you play 65 to 70% your quality, who will win against Nigeria hands down. And he was looking at me. I said, yes, Thomas, I'm telling you, if you play just this percentage of what you have, will win, because you bring so much with the group.
What was that?
He was intercepting. He was breaking lines. He was winning his duels. He was ready to pick the second balls. And he had Kudus higher up the pitch to always find him. And then Kofi Tree was there to mop up. Baba Idrusu was his best.
That's a kind of like I was sitting inside the stadium for that.
I remember when I met you, in the hotel, and even when I was going into the bus, and then I said, no, Muftau, it will be well, and I just
indeed it was well. We qualified.
Yes, and we could have even gone up with a bigger scoreline, because the second half we were much even in control in the second half.
But the Nigerians also had lots of chances.
But in terms of quality, Nigeria had the quality.
Individual quality.
But we had the structure.
That was the best part.
Yes. So when you have structure, and that's why I keep talking about not putting in place 11 very good players.
Put in place a team. Structure.
When you put in place a team, the team will make use of the 11 good players. Remember the year when Real Madrid had all the
Galacticos. The Galacticos.
Did they win anything?
I recall. No, in fact,
because you need
just getting to the quarterfinal of the Champions League.
Yes, but you need a collection of players to build a winning team. You need workers. They are the doers. You need classical, intelligent players. You need creative players, and then you need leaders. So these are the collection of players you need when you are building a team. You need people. So you see that the intelligent ones are always ready to remind players on the tactical structure
of the team.
The creative players, when it becomes too tight, out of nothing they can open up some space. The doers will always make sure that they mop up everything. The leaders will always be ready to keep them in terms of their mental fortitude. And so that you need these people to take care of each other.
Going to the World Cup, people were saying that we were going to do well, and in fact, even before the World Cup, there was lots of drama surrounding your player call-outs, you dropping players, and on all that. What was this all about? And the surprising one everyone talked about was the decision to drop Joseph Painter. What influenced that decision?
In my mind, when you were asking, I just said maybe you were going to.
I forget.
Yes, I knew you were going to talk about this. I think that in our we are always very intense in the way we pick up players. So when the situation arises, it's so easy, and that was why the game in Japan. We have very few matches to really know the players, and then also to really determine who should be in the squad, and so it wasn't so easy that people who couldn't play much in terms of during the qualifier, the few games that we have.
The few games you played, like the Kirin Cup.
Yes, wouldn't give you the confidence and then the aptitude to vie for them. And so those who didn't have the chance of being in that game was really a big disappointment.
But some players came.
Yes.
Salis came.
Yes.
Kamal Soa came.
Yes.
Who?
Iñaki.
Inaki came.
But
for Inaki, okay.
Okay, so once you have said
automated.
Once you believe that he's automated, so is it that others who also came. so we'll keep it like that. But I think that on a very serious
note. Was it
note,
difficult to drop Joseph Painter? Was it a difficult decision?
Every player's drop was a difficult decision. Difficult decision in the sense that the coach has to take that decision, and the coach has to take that responsibility to speak with the person. And you don't expect that when you speak with the person is going to be happy. You don't expect that. You expect the person to be disappointed. You expect the person to be upset. But you expect that the person will see that one as part of the industry. That is what it is. And you as a coach, you expect that to be part of your responsibility, that you have to speak with the player. You have to expect the player not to be happy about it. But you need to be very reserved and not emotional of what the player might say in that moment, to always think that there's always a moment for a second chance. So irrespective of how he feels, I will not feel too bad if he says I'm disappointed, I'm not part of it. That the only disappointment will be that if the person begins to mention that, but this person, you don't make such references. You always have to be very much aware that.
So Joseph didn't make the World Cup squad because he didn't play the Caribbean Cup?
Not necessarily so, but I think that other players were valued ahead of him. In the sense,
his numbers were crazy.
Numbers alone does not make a team into that stance. You need players who could fit into different positions. Also, when the going becomes very, very tough, and so you'll be looking at, okay, if the wide areas become difficult, where else can I use him? Okay, I might use him in the central offensive position also. So you look at all this movement. I personally sometimes do not even want talking about players' situation, but I just want to feel that it also gives you the opportunity to try to keep people in the notion that sometimes it's not so an easy moment to pick players out of others, but you need to look at what you need from various positions, how you want to play. Do you want to value more strikers or more wingers or more players who could play in 2-3 positions? If that is the situation, then that could be one big criteria. Would you want to say that it will be difficult for you to find a player to have
the cohesion of the system?
Yes, the cohesion of the group. Is it the right time to have him, or you need more time? Some players you just needed the players on a shorter time. Some players you need them on a longer term. Some players you needed them on the medium term. Somebody like Salis, for instance. You got him just one match.
Yeah.
Before against Switzerland before. So you need other players to be able to have some good function within the new squad, because someone might say, but he was in AFCON. Yes, but the handlers might not be. Somebody like me, I know him in and out. Yeah. I know him in and out. He was with me in the satellites team, so he was with Gideon and others. So it's somebody that I know in and out. I think that he was equally not fortunate because of injuries here and there, also coming in, delaying him. Everybody knows the quality that he brings. And it was not a time to really be thinking about, do you have time to do that? You don't have time to do that.
We don't have the time to do that. But I don't know, this question might sound very controversial, but people have said that the FA was forcing players on you people.
Not at all, to be very honest with you. Can you mention one player?
Well,
so assuming the president manages to get a player like Salis to agree to play for Ghana,
will you drop him?
Will you drop him? Assuming maybe the president is able to facilitate the process of
the
process of Salis Abdul Samad into the Blasters. Muftau, what would you say? As a coach, would you say no? Sometimes they also can express their views just like an ordinary Ghanaian, just like you and any other person out there, that will say that, just like you were talking about a particular player, such could be the same thing, that they could say, hey, I saw this guy, would that be counter to maybe the way
they make a recommendation because of the positions they occupy, it could influence how you think.
I think that where we have all reached, the members of the technical staff at that time, where we had all reached in terms of our profession, we have reached a level where we meet boards of our various institutions, to tailor views and then opinions, and then you still stick to your very strong grounds, and then technically you come out with your technical views. I think that nothing of that sort really happened in my estimation. Everything that you saw were players who were tested, tried and tested in various positions.
By
and
you
I think
people,
that
by the technical
yes,
team.
absolutely.
So
there was
all
no
26 players that went to the World Cup.
There was
the
no
technical team.
There was no
influence.
influence by whatsoever. If you look at the only the two locals that were part of the team, they were part of the team on merit, because obviously if you have a Danladi, maybe it was just by coincidence. It was just by by coincidence. No, absolutely by coincidence, in the sense that who would you have brought as a third goalkeeper apart from Danladi?
So
Danladi is a U23 goalkeeper, right? Danladi is also the
so in other words,
yes. No, I'm just asking a question.
No. So I'm just saying something. In other words, the technical team felt Afriye Bania was better than Joseph Pinso. That was the thinking of the technical team.
No, you listen.
In the other thinking of the technical team, you also equally felt that Ibrahim Danlad was a better option more than Richard Atta and co within the space.
But Richard Atta was not keeping even for House of Folk at the time.
No. I'm just asking examples.
I'm not saying anything. I'm also just making a point.
Okay, I get it.
Yes. So in a very clear mindset, I think that we really look into all this, and we also look into the effect of how do you develop the group? How do you develop the group on a very immediate moment to a longer? Do you need somebody so daring immediately, or you need time to be able to do? These are all considerations when you are vying into a tournament. And then you also have to think about, if you look at a free Bania, for instance. Bania, I'm just using this as a basic example. Bania has been very influential locally, not only on the club tent, but on the national team, yeah. Both the under-23s and then and Bania also carried himself very well when he had the opportunity to be there with the then Bechem player. He was my former player in Kotoko, left-footed. He's now in Okra. He carried himself very, very well. Trying to do his very best that he could in that situation. So a national call, sometimes you are an ambassador of the nation. When it comes. So the way you carry yourself, is very, very important. Sometimes we just look at what the person does just on the pitch, but it goes beyond these phases.
Now let's wrap up the conversation on the World Cup itself. And 3 matches, 1 defeat, in your estimation. Did you ever thought we to qualify beyond the group?
I think that I had a very modest expectation. I thought it was possible to qualify from the group, and I thought we needed to be prepared for whatever, because that is the World Cup. And sometimes the World Cup, it goes beyond just what happens. You need a certain level of experience, you need a certain level of resilience to sail through. And you could see how it was told, the game against all the 3 games. The game against Japan, the toughest game was the middle game.
South Korea.
Yes, that was the toughest game.
Those
is the toughest game. They were the best team for me.
Those 8-9 minutes.
Yes, I'm telling you that
it was the longest I've ever had seated at a stadium.
Yes, but I'm telling you that it was a difficult game because it wasn't easy to predict how they were coming. They were varying their game here, and we tried to vary to follow them. It wasn't so easy. But the other 2 games, you just know how Portugal will come and play. You know how Uruguay will come and play. In the game against Uruguay, for instance, we only had some defensive difficulties, individual.
Were we not psychologically ready for the game against Uruguay? People actually thought that because there was
but
a potential déjà vu that was going to happen, and indeed it happened.
But a friend of mine told me that when you are going into a battle against your enemy, you needed to dig 2 graves. One is your own grave, and the other one is the opponent's grave.
You either bury the person or the opponent buries you.
So,
and you were buried.
Yes, and for for me, I think that it has a negative effect in terms of the psychological element. And I think that including our fans and everyone overestimated, this is the moment. This is the moment.
To revenge.
But in football, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. You just need to prepare technically how you are supposed to. Unfortunately, and it was the game we started so well, right from the blast of the game. We were dominating in the opening minutes. You know, we were dominating. But sometimes these things happen. That you have.
What happened in the dressing room at halftime?
At halftime, we just needed to do something tactical.
Did any fight?
No.
It's because we were able to understand that because
No.
you made 2 quick changes.
Yeah. There was nothing.
People felt that they were targeted for substitution.
No, but you know, these things are normal. The person could even come out and show his outburst. It's normal. It's an emotional game. So if someone comes out,
the
you have
emotions
to.
were exhibited in the dressing room.
But not as you anticipated. No. There was nothing like that. We just made the changes and then we did the tactical orientation and then we're out on the pitch.
And those who were substituted, were they disappointed?
Everyone would be disappointed because the person would have thought that I have some 45 minutes to get my game back. Every player wants that minutes to do what? How many players will be not playing well, and then they will just come and tell you, the coach, please take me out. You always would think that, oh, I can still put something in. Yeah. So when you take that person out, he comes out. Should he not feel disappointed?
People said that your game management was bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need to know so that we can. You know, I've told you that I have a very honest, very honest integrity to unlearn to learn. Yeah. Because we only learn once because we want to get better, and we never stop. Question. We never stop learning.
I want to ask a very personal question. People said because I gave the probable lineup of Ghana versus South Korea, I unsettled the technical team. Did that happen?
Oh, no, I don't think it's something that I wouldn't want to talk about these things. You know,
but did I unsettle you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have always been the same person, and I will continue to be the same. I don't think there will be any moment where I will change to try to be Muftao, or Muftao changing to become Didi. Maybe you just pick something out of Didi and add up. Maybe I pick something out of Muftao to add up. Nothing of that sort. We have been a comprehensive partners in the development and promotion of our football, and I think that that will continue to be.
So some of you were not accused of giving me information.
But since when have you known me?
I've known you for years.
So since when did you, even prior to the World Cup, did we talk? No. We were not talking that much. We didn't, the only time I saw you was when I saw you there, and so
once in a while, hi.
Yeah, and then we go. But when we are on set like this, we pour everything out. But you know, sometimes these things they happen. It's just like when we're delaying to announce the squad. Every speculation here and there. Sometimes you might.
But I had the correct squad.
Then maybe somebody gave you, but it's just a normal speculation that you might speculate, because if you follow the squad really well. I remember in my staff, I asked them, and they had almost, you know,
a chunk of it correct.
Yes, correct. Because when you follow the game really very well, maybe you might add your favorite one or two.
What is that thing that you've learned from Otuado?
Oh, I think there are a lot that we learned from each other.
One thing you learned from
each other? Trust. Trust is very key. Trusting people that you work with is very key. And that trust is there. That trust is in our team, and that trust must be maintained. That trust must exist, and that trust must continue.
And talking of maintenance, yourself, George Watson, Chris Houghton, maintained. Congratulations once again.
Oh, really? I didn't know about this. You are breaking the news. You are a newsbreaker. No, really?
Yeah.
I told you just have to work and then wait.
Okay, so what does Chris Houghton bring to the table?
team building, consistency, and bonding. And he came here. He visited me here. And then I gave him audience with my staff. We had fortunately it fell on a Thursday, and Thursdays we have technical meetings where we extensively explore around each other. And I gave him that space, and then I gave him the space in the assembly hall where we had the whole student body, and then he spoke to them. And so already this is somebody who values their grassroots. This is somebody who cherish partnership, who cherish colleagues, who cherish unionism. This is somebody who has seen it all at the top level and still says that I still learn around these people that I work with. So I think that the FA and then the government really are very clear in their direction towards the development and progress of our football in terms of deliberate, keeping consistency, and then I hope that they will remain patient around these processes in terms of how we want to create success. In creating success, you need a period to do this, and you need consistency. And what has been created already means that the bond is there, and so this is a huge one. So Chris brings about team building, cohesion, and then strong relation, and then experience. At the EPL level, huge experience, and that's what I said. He has seen it all, but he's still very open-minded.
Should we raise our expectations since his experience?
No, we have to be very modest in terms of our expectations, and then support and align, especially our huge industry, which is the media point, that we need to have a clear view of how we are rolling things, so that you'll be able to see that, okay, this is where we are. This is where we are going. We want to go, but these are the things that we need to be doing. And the good thing is that we have a strong database, and that's why when I was talking about the John Pinzel issue, I was saying that some players you need them now. Some players you need them in the medium phase. Some players you need them in the longer term. And in the process of team building, that's how it's going to be. Some are going to be falling off. Some will fall off so early, but others are the ones that you are carrying for longer periods. So how do you do to be able to have them consistently be part of it? And it's about having at least a collection of 50 to 55 players, where you know that always the revolving is going to come out from this group. And once you have that one, then you are building a strong team.
So from the team we took to the World Cup, what percentage of that team do you think we should maintain?
Absolutely, the squad is still alive, and then the squad is what you have to be looking at, how the leagues are going on now, and then those who are on the pitch, and if you are talking about those to maintain, if the person is injured, as we know from
you don't want to answer my question.
Daniel Chre being injured. If the person is injured, absolutely he's out.
But I mean,
because you just need 5 days to play.
Should we keep 70%, 80%, 90%?
I think that the core of the team is still the base.
And the core of the team, is it 70, 80 or 90%?
You should know. If I say the core of the team, you should know what I mean. I think that you need to have at least, we have some players who were also injured before then. Yeah. And so if you are talking about the core of the team, and then the core of the team should rather be the team that was even part of the Nigeria squad, and because the Nigeria squad really was the foundation. And once you have the foundation, and then the World Cup gives you the opportunity to build, to a certain pedigree. What do? Do you destroy it, or you just have to continue with it and then keep the process?
So you suggest continuity?
Yeah, continuity. Consistency is the key. Okay. Consistency is the key. But the
so
database
how long should
is
we
really
be patient with you? Should we give people 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
I think that it's not.
So that we can say that in the next 5 years we want to win the AFCON.
We have not gotten to the point where we begin to say, okay, now timelines. In building a team, you just know that now this is how the team is moving. It's a clear direction. Then you just know that this clear direction, and then after a period of games, you can just say that. Now you can even say that next year, if there's something, you can win. you can see that by next 2 years, this guy is going to get very experienced. If Kudus and then Kamal and then Osman and then Salis, have the opportunity of playing 2 AFCONs, and then they play in the World Cup. Then in the World Cup, then you can see that this World Cup, the worst we have to reach is this. Derek Bortin and others, and then Stevio and others, they had the opportunity of, getting into this. They play many tournaments, they play many games. So they can close their eyes, just call this one, put him in there. Any coach stands there, it will work.
So the
coach might say, let's go and play like this. And they go in there and they conjure their magic.
And they'll play.
At the end, who gets the reward?
So sometimes we should win the AFCON 2024?
I think hope is something that keeps us working. Hope is always something that keeps us working. But I think that the most important aspect is that now our focus is more on the team building. On the team building. We could do it so well quickly and then it just rolls out. But I think that our emphasis should be more on the team building. And I believe that we need your support. We need, even though we are going to do everything that is humanly possible, but we need a clear alignment of thoughts in these dimensions. You just don't put the blocks together quickly and then you say the house is full.
After Prime Take, welcome back on the AM show. This morning, I have a very short reflection for you on 3 thematic areas, and I just want us to reflect on these this morning. I've titled my piece, Blunt Thoughts of a Shortage of Crucial Vaccines, Christian Achu's Great Wish and the Boku Conflict, How I See It. Ghana, for pick any country globally, apart from those under dictatorships or authoritarian regimes, or such misleaders, and you would find a certain trajectory and standards, especially with highly developed democratic governments. But just you look at our governments here, weighing their promises and performances side by side with the wishes and aspirations of the people, and you'll see the shocking disconnect. Bad as that may be, there are certain happenings that just shock you to the bone and make your stomach churn. Women and children across the world are considered the most vulnerable, which is why children, principally, are given prime of place in various aspects of our lives, including healthcare. But not here in Ghana, apparently. Here, some of the worst things happen to children. They school under trees, drown owing to lack of life-saving life jackets like we saw with those 8 poor souls that were lost recently. And even worse, they lack basic vaccines that can save their lives as they grow. I ask, what kind of country is this that marginalizes the most vulnerable, the group most deserving of protection? Which country does that? Ghana does. There you have your answer. Come along with me. Why have I put this here? I'm sure you're seeing a lot of fanciful names: rubella, penta and rota, oral poliomyelitis, measles, pertussis, tetanus, diphtheria. These are some of the diseases that we protect our children from. You know what polio can do to you, your limbs and all of that. But how would you find it if I told you there was a widespread shortage of some vaccines used for routine? It should be common. Immunization of babies from birth to at least 18 months, and these are in short supply. In fact, on this list, you do not see Accra, but Accra is also in here. Accra is on this list. So Koforidua, they lack this, all of these, including polio, rubella, bolgatanga, Bacillus Chalmette-Guerin, OPV, polio, measles, yellow fever, Men-A for the vaccination of children have been in short supply in the region for the past 2 months. 2 months! What happens to those children who should be getting these shots? Wa, same, penta, yellow fever, among others. Kumasi, oral poliovirus, measles, yellow fever, rotavirus, among others, including meningitis. Kumasi, Cape Coast, Takrady. And just you take a look from here. Look at the vaccine-preventable deaths in Ghana. Deaths caused by vaccine-preventable diseases in Ghana between 1990 and 2019. Look at that. Diphtheria, 329, yellow fever, 3,054, hepatitis B, 3,753, tetanus, avoidable, 12,555, whooping cough, measles, meningitis. But look at the figure for meningitis and look at the figure for tuberculosis. 319,504, preventable. Now, guess what? The situation, in fact, when you look at the potential to increase the vulnerability of children to the diseases the vaccines seek to protect them against, it is quite a problem. How and why did we get here? Ask the health minister. For an egregious failure of this nature, most ministers anywhere in the world would have resigned quietly or been sacked. But no, not in Ghana. After all, even when all the COVID-19 issues came up, he neither resigned nor was sacked. So why do anything now? It is just what it is. For the second part of my discourse today, I would like to focus a bit on Christian Atsu and how we can immortalize him. Naming pictures after him and all that is okay, but far from enough. How about something he had fought tooth and nail for and spoken openly about? Let's find out what he had to say. But before that, what is a non-custodial sentence in law? Come with me. In terms of a non-custodial sentence, according to the Collins Dictionary, breaking it down so it doesn't sound too legal, we don't want to use legalese, a punishment given by a court of law that does not involve a prison term, such as a fine or a restriction order. And this is something that many people have called for. Christian was one of those. He says, a nation that has no non-custodial law will needlessly throw petty offenders into prison and feed them with the taxpayers' money when such offenders could help desilt our choked and stinking gutters. I just don't understand why Parliament has consistently pushed aside the passage of the non-custodial sentencing bill into law. You can understand very much young people who are thrown into jail, oftentimes, when we could use them in different ways and not have to throw them into jail. Now, the non-custodial sentencing regime in China, non-imprisonment penalty, commonly known as community correction in China, refers to out-of-prison correction program for minor lawbreakers jailed for 3 years or less. The practice has proved successful because the second crime rate of correctional convicts was just 1% after this. 1%. Why can't we do that here? The crime rate as a result is 6% lower than those committed by jailed criminals. Just imagine that. Again, community corrections are described to center on rehabilitation of offenders, helping them, quote, eradicate criminal minds and behavioral vice by means of social forces. The practice of punishment in China has been associated with education, persuasion, and formation. What a way to remember our star, our brother, friend, father, and all. If we fulfill this wish of his, which he was so passionate about, while he still walked among us. In fact, while he was still alive, he helped a lot of those people. Why can't we do that in his memory, rather than some of the petty things that have been mentioned? We can do all of that, but this, if we did it and wrote his name into it, would be quite a legacy. It's a proposition I'm putting out there. Finally, for the third and last part of my blunt thoughts today, I'd like to reflect upon what is going on in Boku. But even before I get there, let me just draw your attention to the fact that with many of the happenings in our country today, we could, if serious action is not taken soon, become an entity highly vulnerable, if we are not there already, to the scourge of terrorism and of serious tensions. Look at Trepone. We're telling you about it just this morning. 4 people killed, 5 others, including a soldier, left with serious injuries, all because of a chieftaincy dispute at Wenchike. Interestingly, just like in the latest melee in Boku, guess what? The violence followed the enskinment of a chief of Nyangwangi near Trepone by the paramount chief of Trepone, while Na Abuba, the chief of Wanchiki, also enskinned only yesterday a different person as chief for the Nyambengi community. This actually comes as no surprise, as we hear only 6 out of the 300 traditional areas in the country have validly completed the documentation of their lines of succession about 20 years after the National House of Chiefs initiated moves to have lines of succession to stools and skins codified to help address chieftaincy disputes. The 6 traditional areas that have fulfilled this are Ofenso, Tepa, Ewutu, Brekum, Shidiem, and Kwewu. That's it. When you have a situation like that, can you not expect some of these problems to happen? Now, looking at the Boku chieftaincy dispute, following independence in 1957, the chieftaincy abruptly switched hands between Mamprussi and Kusasi on 3 occasions. The last change occurred in 1983 when the government decided to recognize the Kusasi chief instead of the Mamprussi regent. The following years saw a handful of violent altercations, but by 1986, peace returned and the chieftaincy dispute fell into the realm of politics and court battles. Looking at the implications, because the Kusasis, the larger group there, have stated their case. The Mamprussis have also made their case, but we could have resolved this. 13 years of peace until there was a rapid cracking of automatic weapons firing on the outskirts of town, and at least 113 people have died since 2001 alone. 113 people. This is a scar on the conscience of our leaders. How do we resolve this crisis? Here are some proposals. Colonel Festus Awaji, retired, whom I spoke to the other day on this matter, very knowledgeable on this issue. He says, I will suggest that the president seizes this opportunity, or he sees this opportunity, to travel to the area to try and get the parties to tone down, because all the rhetoric that is going on is not helpful. The president, through conflict resolution, can help the parties involved calm down and resolve their issues. Mr. President, what are you doing? We celebrated you for what happened with the Yana Yendi. How about this one? This is a serious problem. How about Emmanuel Bombande? What does he have to say? The state needs to affirm its authority in the Boku area to prevent an escalation of the conflict. The state's assertion of authority must be done in such a manner that it takes into account the emotions of the stakeholders in the conflict due to the sensitive nature of the issues at stake. Again, if the state fails to do so, the country will be faced with a situation similar to the Yendi conflict, which took 20 years to resolve. 20 years. So we have the blueprint, we have the precedent. Why are we not applying these? Because if we don't, the terrorists are around us, the scourge is real, some of them are said to be in our country already. Let's not give them fodder to work with. Already, we have Galamsey, which is a problem, which feeds into what they do. This is a ticking time bomb we're sitting on. And government's failures and the terrorist threat added to that means we have a huge problem to deal with. Like I said, we have the Yendi example. Ghana 4, I speak of these 3 issues because I am very passionate about the brand called Ghana. I'm very passionate about what we aspire to, what we should be having, or what we deserve from our leaders. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you this morning. Raw, hot, unedited, and undiluted. As always, I pray that God richly bless Ghana and make her great and strong.
Well, you see, we want to have a very clean campaign, devoid of attacks. You understand? The president, former president, was the president between 2013-2016. His performance is there. You'll see it. Okay? I was not part of his government. I was the finance minister between 2009 and 2012. The performance is also there, it's clear. The difference is clear. As I mentioned, between 2009 and 2012, the cedi depreciated by 60 pesos, 1.2 to 1.8. Inflation, which was 18.1 when we took over, for 32 months was in single digit. The growth rate in 2010 reached 14.5% of GDP, okay? And in that year, Ghana was registered the fastest growth in the whole world. world, the fastest growing economy in the whole world. You understand? Unemployment came down to about 2%, by 2.2 precisely. You understand? As a nation, we're able to produce cocoa, mainstay, or the mainstay of Guinean economy, to a level of 1 million tons, or metric tons. So it's never happened in this country before. When we took over, reserves stood around 2 billion. When we were leaving, it was $5 billion plus. So the record is there. I'm not here to attack the former president, but he had a whole 4 years as the president. The records are there for every Guinean to talk about.
Now, you said you get this economy back in 2 years. What is fundamentally wrong with this economy that you think you can tweak to change things?
Discipline. Discipline. Live within your means. That's what you should know. Live within your means. And don't live from hand to mouth. It's been said by one wise man years ago, 1879, said that any class of men that lives from hand to mouth will ever be an inferior class. Any class of men, group of people who lives from hand to mouth will ever be an inferior class. No matter how small your income is, make sure you make some savings so that you don't go about borrowing. We have everything. Look at our resources. But from hand to mouth, that's why we go about borrowing, begging, debt forgiveness. We have everything.
Doc, we've been to the IMF more than 16 times. We haven't seen much of that. Will we see your government ever going to the IMF should you win?
I've talked about discipline. We'll cut our coat according to our growth. It happened between 2009 and 2012. Prof. Mills reduced the MDAs from 27 to 23. Prof. Mills cut the fiscal deficit from 14.5 to 9.7 in 1 year. Discipline, so that we need to manage our resources. And to collect the form for me. I wanted to go there, but Gloria said, no, we are traveling from Kofrodia, Kumasi, to come and collect the forms for you. Don't move an inch. That's why I'm here. Thank you. Thank you. The grassroots, the owners of the party. You are the ethos and spirit of the party. When the party was formed, there was a cardinal pillar. Today it's been demonstrated. The pillar was what? Power to the people. Today you walked, went to the party headquarters and collected the forms. I think that have demonstrated that we are the people. The power is ours. We get the forms. We are going to give to this man to come and contest. I am contesting. I have accepted. Yes. When the party was formed, at first, yes, the grassroots were very powerful. Of late, you have been relegated to the background, as if you don't matter. But you matter, the power is yours. And that was the reason why I said I want to down there. That with Ahonto, we'll be able to empower the grassroots. You will be powerful financially to manage your constituency. When we come to power, there will be more
constituencies in the rural areas. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, as you say, you need a Messiah, someone who knows. But there's also a former finance minister in there. Why do you think he is not the one best placed who understands how the economy is and can better do a good job than Jay?
You are comparing a minister to a foreign president. I think you know that there's no basis for comparison. A minister and a former president, there's no basis. Because the minister is only allowed to handle within his comfort area as a minister. But the president is for all. And the country needs a hand who knows almost everything or everything. And that's why I said we need an experienced leader who has done it before and is available and is willing. Then I think we are lucky. It's a gift from God.
Well, welcome back on the AM show. After sharing my blunt thoughts, we talk party politics, and the NDC has opened the picking of nomination forms for its flag bearership race. And guess who have picked up those nomination forms? Former President John Dramani Mahama, and some have said he is in pole position to lead the party, and also Dr. Kwabena Dufour. You just heard there, the rhetoric that, look, you're comparing a minister, former minister, to a former president. There's no basis for comparison. But is that really the case? How is it going to play out among the delegates who are actually going to be voting, the swathes of delegates who are going to be voting? And what could this mean for the party moving forward? Because if they slip in terms of leadership, that could affect the fortunes of the party come 2024, which is just around the corner. So how does the party address all of this? Well, joining us to dilate on those issues, Dr. Kwesi Amakye-Boateng. He's a political scientist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Dr. Sumaila Assah is a development expert and senior lecturer at the C.K. Tedam University of Technology and Applied Sciences. They join us for a conversation on this matter. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you, Dr. Amakye and Dr. Assah.
Morning.
It's a pleasure having you join the conversation. I think I'm not hearing from one of you. I want to be sure I can hear both of you. Hello, good morning.
Good.
Okay, I think I can hear both of you now. 2024 is just around the corner, and the different parties are lacing their boots. It is obvious now from the way things are looking that the NDC is going to select its flag bearer before the NPP does, which wouldn't be anything odd. The NPP has its constitution and the stipulations about a year before the contest. But when you look at the landscape, the NDC, with everything that is happening and how things are panning out now with some opposition to former President John Dramani Mahama, what would you say is your initial comment on happenings within the NDC as far as who leaves the party is concerned? I'll start with you, Dr. Amakye. Dr. Amakye, I'd like to start with you on that question, if you heard me. All right, let me go to Dr. Assah then. Dr. Assah, I think the connection to Dr. Amakye is frozen, so we'll start with you instead.
Okay, so I think if I got your question right, the NDC, as we speak now, is... Hello?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So what I would say is that the development in the NDC now is something that is not surprising because for the past 2-3 years ago, we started hearing names of Dr. Dufour and Kojo Bonsu So it's not something I'm surprised because, yes, to an extent, I thought maybe they wanted to just test the waters. But at the point, it was confirmed that they will be picking the forms. So I'm not surprised that they have picked the forms, but it's the beauty of the democracy that we are building in this country. And for that matter, I welcome that kind of development in the NDC.
And so for you, looking at these developments, you've seen the background. In fact, I have interestingly hosted Kojo Bonsu here in recent times. Now we have former Minister of Finance, also former Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Dufour, also joining the fray. And then we have the former president. Are you surprised about the number of people wanting to contest the former president, especially considering his clout? Don't you forget that in recent times we had a number of the regional caucuses throwing their support behind, in fact, the regional chairpeople throwing their support behind former President Mahama. In some, I've heard of some other people with other portfolios also going for Dr. Kwabena Dufour. But when you look at the leadership of these groupings across the regions going in for the former president, are you surprised that there are still people who want to contest him?
No, I'm not surprised at all because, as I said, the NDC historically has demonstrated some high level of democracy. And I think these are all to add up to that development in the NDC. The same way for the MPP. So I think it's important for us to understand that some of these contests might not necessarily result into the person winning. For instance, some school of thought have postulated that Kojo Bonsu is probably preparing himself for the 2028 contest. And if you look at it, yes, he is relatively young and have the cloud in the area of the Ashantis. And then for that matter, the people of the Ashanti having the interest of ruling the NDC may project somebody like that. And for me, I think he's probably preparing the ground for himself or for the future. But Dufour, to me, is my concern. Yes, look at his age. He probably will be interested in getting it now because 2028, I don't think he will have the age again to contest. So this time, I don't see him only preparing for the future, but wanting it now. But the unfortunate thing is that he doesn't really have the crowd to win it. Yes, he can register a very good contest, but at the end of the day, it is a confirmed race that John Mahama is going to be the flag bearer of the NDC come 2024. But as I said from the beginning, these are important to build a democracy. If somebody is not being contested, then it means that you are complacent, and then the Democratic Party called the NDC, what will be the democracy in it if people don't really contest? So it's good, but at the end of the day, I don't see any results that will be different from the time of, that was 2016, when we had about 6 or so people contesting the former president. This time around, I don't see, I see the more overwhelming result, even beyond the 95% that he had the last time. This could be more of an endorsement of almost close to 100%.
So you're saying that former President Mahama could get close to 100% this time round? That's what you're suggesting?
Exactly. Because the tempo is, look at it, it's very clear that everybody in the NDC see John Mahama as the best candidate to present against 2024 elections. And for that matter, the few who may have issues with him may be the outliers. And I think it's the few outliers that will vote for the other candidates. So I don't see them getting up to 2% at the end of this contest. But as I said, it's important that they register their interest. Some of them, as I mentioned, may be having future interests. Right. And then some may probably be projecting an ego that they probably think that they want to contest the former president. So it's good, and the NDC should see it as an opportunity to build the internal democracy. So it should not be seen as, oh, you are underdog. I mean, you are just wasting your time. Right. I don't think Dr. Dufour is just wasting his time. Yes, if you interpret it that way, then it is inimical to the party. So to me, I think his zeal and commitment to the cause of contesting is very important for the party. And the party should see that as an opportunity to get alternative views. So as the contest is going on, you will see different way of doing things or proposals for the development of the country. And the NDC should probably take that as an opportunity to collate all these views from different contestants that may come with divergent views different from the former president. But at the end of the day, the NDC needs to present a manifesto that will be convincing to Ghanaians, because Ghanaians, I think, are becoming so discerning and will not want to take flimsy and sloganeering things in a manifesto. So they should take this as an opportunity to let the candidates come out with clear lines of agenda that will help the country in the future. And then for that matter, they can collate that for the manifesto that will be convincing for the people of this country.
Hold your horses for now, Dr. Asa. Let me bring in Dr. Kwesi Amakye-Boateng as well. The connection wasn't so good earlier. I hope it's better now. Dr. Amakye-Boateng, can you hear me? Dr. Amakye-Boateng, can you hear me? Please unmute so we can hear you. If you can hear me, please press unmute so we can hear what you are saying.
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, loud and clear. What do you make of this entire tussle in the NDC for the flag bearership, the leadership of the party going into election at 2024? And do you agree with Dr. Asa that for some of these candidates, or those who are putting themselves forward, Kojo, Bonsu, among others, that they are actually not contemplating winning, they're just putting themselves forward so that come 2028, they would still be viable? What do you make of it?
Thanks for the opportunity, and let me say good morning to your viewers, to yourself, and also to Dr. Asa. Actually, if you take competition out of democratic practice, you don't have any democracy any longer. So this is to be, or it was to be anticipated, that, I mean, if you want to hold a political office, one, in a political party, or even after the party has won the elections at the national level, you are not going to go through on a silver platter. You are always going to have to contend with other, individuals who are also interested in holding that office. And let me also add that who have what it takes really to lead, in the various capacities. So, yes, President Mahama has been around for a while. And then he has provided leadership for the party and also for the country on various issues over the period. And through that, consciously or unconsciously, he has greatly made himself known to Ghanaians that he has alternative ideas to the challenges facing the country. So it's not surprising to me that he stands tall in the NDC as at now, and that all other things being equal. If you want to look at it from a rational perspective, you wouldn't want to replace President Mahama with any other person in the NDC. One, he's marketed himself so well. Two, he has addressed some of the critical issues, that constitute the challenges facing all of us now. He has come out, provided alternatives. And actually, I don't think that any of the contestants, has done that. Dr. Dufour tried somehow to also affect the system, but it hasn't been so, great, and he has not necessarily come out so forcefully the way, President Mahama has done. So yes, I agree with Dr. Asa that Dr. Dufour might have a different mindset going into this contest altogether. But the others, in democracy, you need to put yourself up, market yourself in the party, let them know you support the party's tradition. You go into this contest, you lose, you honorably concede, support the party to prosecute this agenda, and then the party's rank and file will take notice of you and then consider you in the days to come. I'd like to believe, and to add my voice to what Dr. Asa has said, that this might be the a guiding principle of the others. And interestingly, he made the same point I was going to make with respect to Dr. Dufour. Age is a huge issue.
So Dr. Dufour is in his 70s, as we gather, and but there are leaders across the world who are in their 70s. Look at Joe Biden, for example. I mean, there are very elderly leaders in some parts of the world.
That's right, but then these people lead different countries, and then the fortunes of the countries differ from one another. In the development literature, a strong case has been made, that one, in poor countries, you don't need anybody at all to lead, and age has been, sort of established as one of the factors that such countries should consider. His ability to read through, various documents that he has to read as the president and simply give his consent, is always an issue. And if age is simply not on your side, I think medical practitioners will have to come out and tell us whether, age doesn't affect one's ability to think clearly, and come out with, critical decisions. So age is not on his side, and I don't think going forward, Ghanaians will want to, consider, people 70 years plus. I don't think so. So everything points to. But
that's just hold a bit. That's an important point you make. You don't think the Ghanaians moving forward would want to consider people 70 years plus. We are seeing that same, image reflected in Nigeria, for example, where I think the only person below that age is Peter Obi. If you look at Tinubu and Atiku, same scenario. Our current president is 70 plus, and we're seeing, the problems that we're seeing. So is that something, just to veer off slightly, is that something that you feel we should tackle, maybe even constitutionally?
I believe so strongly. Age should be one of the issues that we should be, giving credence to, and it may not necessarily be constitutional. As you see,
so what should we have, an age ceiling, or should there be some unwritten rule that, look, if you're past this age, you know what, let younger people do the job?
I'm going for an unwritten rule. I think we should be able to let these things work in society, and if society embraces it, then that's it. It will be strong. Longer than calculate.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've been, receiving calls into my system, and that's disrupting my engagement with you. Right. So age should be considered, freely in society, and people will want to relate to it themselves.
The calls are still coming through, right?
Yes.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the point I was making. I don't think we should go into a constitutional sort of a review or anything and try to insert it into it. And constitutional provisions that really endure are those that happen to be in line with people's values and principles. So in a way, the issue comes out of the Constitution and manifests in the lives of people, and so they relate to it unconsciously. At that time, we have a strong position, on that particular issue, a strong decision coming from society. So that's the way I look at this age issue.
Let's do this. I'd like us to assess the contenders individually. But before we get into that, Dr. Asa made a point that, look, all the others put together are not going to be even able to scrape 2%. In some contests we've had in the past, at least there have been some interesting percentages. I remember when former President Atta Mills took on former First Lady Nana Konadu Rawlings. I think she secured about some 4% of the votes. He earned about 96%. But in this instance, the forecast by Dr. Asai is that all of these smaller contenders, so to speak, because like Professor Joshua Alabi mentioned, it's putting a former president together with, or side by side with, others who have served in different, lesser portfolios. But do you agree with him when he says that 2% maximum is what they are going to be able to scrape from a contest with John Dramani Mahama? Are you in agreement with him?
No, definitely. I'll be surprised if the others, are able to really affect the the elections significantly. What Professor Yushua said speaks for itself. He's a former president, and then he's been together with like I was saying, he's been around all the time that the party has been in opposition and provided leadership to the party and to the country. So definitely these others are now coming in, if you like, to market themselves. So they are late in the first place. They are very late, and then their pedigree, simply don't come anywhere near that of President Mahama. And over the years, President Mahama has demonstrated that he has gone through institutional learning. He comes out and speaks to economic issues as though, he's gone into, pursue some, course in economics. He is ready to, come out strongly this time. And I expect the party to give him that sort of overwhelming endorsement.
Right. Let me start with Dr. Asah. I want us now to assess the contenders. What do they have? What have they done? You look at Kojo Bonsu, for example, former mayor of Kumasi, but before that, he had worked with different corporations, entities, both in the private sector and in the public sector. Some of the mining firms and others that we know, he had worked with them before he became mayor of Kumasi. And he says since then he has learned a whole lot. And one of the major matters he makes mention of is that, look, I can go for 2 terms. Former President Mahama can only go for 1 term, and then there'll be some sort of gap. It is something he has said time and again. Then you pick a Dr. Kwabena Dufour. We know his history. He set up Unibank. He has been a former governor of the Bank of Ghana. He has been a former finance minister, superintendent, over good aspects of our economy when our economy was buoyant, and other aspects when there was a downturn in our economy. He was at post. You would look at his profile and also see that in 1998, he was voted Personality of the Year by the Independent newspaper in Ghana. Same year, voted Marketing Man of the Year. He is a man of many things. Then you look at former President John Dramani Mahama. On the political spectrum, he's been there, done that, right from the grassroots, all the way through becoming a member of parliament, then becoming vice president, then becoming president. I dare say, if you look at his trajectory, while the current president has been preparing for the presidency for decades, John Dramani Mahama has had the opportunity of serving in crucial roles, all the way from the grassroots, like I've mentioned, through parliament. Of course, he's not a lawyer, so he's not ended up in the judiciary, all the way to the helm of affairs at the executive. He's been a minister, he's been vice president, and he's been president before. When you look at these profiles of these people, I'll start with you, Dr. Asah. How would you assess them based on the experience they bring to bear, the managerial skills they bring to bear? I'll start with you, Dr. Asah.
Okay, let me start with Mr. Kojo Bonsu. Yes, I personally had an assessment of how he performed at the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. I remember in 2016, there's this annual assessment of the performance of assemblies in Ghana. Those days it used to be called a FWAT, but now it's called a DPAT. So I happen to have led a team to assess the performance of the KMA in 2016. And there I picked a lot of positives about Kojo Bonsu. There was an issue, in fact, that eventually led to his exit. It was about some people, commission revenue collectors, who had collected a lot of money on behalf of the KMA and refused to pay to the KMA. And these were people who were connected to chiefs, and he himself, I think he's a royal to an extent. Then a lot of confusion between the traditional authorities as to these people paying the money or not paying the money. He did not really spare them. He ended up in court with these people, which was against the wish of the chiefs. And eventually, that's how he got exited from the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Yes, so personally, He has the character, the ability.
We are losing your sound, Dr. Asa. Please try to... Hello? Hello, Dr. Asa?
Looking at him...
I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Better?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So looking at Kojo Bonsu from that experience, personal experience, and assessing his work at the KMA at the time gave me that confidence that, look, this is a man who has something he can share for the development of this country. You come to Dr. Dufo, and as you have given his pedigree, this is a very fantastic man. I admire him so much. From the private sector and from the governance perspective, he has it all. When it comes to how to manage the economy, he demonstrated that when he was the governor of the Bank of Ghana, and then when he became...
The connectivity issues are proving an impediment. Dr. Asa, if you can hear me, just go back about some 20 seconds and start again with what you were saying. We seem to have interruptions. Are you getting calls as well? Or is it just the internet? Unfortunate there. But let me come to you, Dr. Amache Boateng, if you can give us what your reflection is on each of these candidates as we know them. Kojo Bonsu, Dr. Kwabena Dufo, John Dramani Mahama. Your take.
Yeah, I think I don't have the information Dr. Asa has on Mr. Kojo Bonsu. And so obviously, since these are public issues and, you know, he had opportunity to engage him in that capacity, then we'll all buy into the ideas he's sharing with us.
Right.
And then Dr. Dufo has also endeared himself so well to himself as a private individual, his businesses, and also to all of us as a country serving in that particular capacity of a finance minister and also governor of the Bank of Ghana. He has had great opportunity. And interestingly, in UK, for example, their finance ministers generally, you know, also tend to have the capacity to become the leaders of the country. Then once again, I'm coming from the development literature. Emphasis is placed on, you know, knowledge of economics for the overall leader. That a person should have, you know, knowledge of economics. They don't necessarily agree that you should have a university degree or something like that. But you should yourself, you know, you should take it upon yourself to acquire those skills. Dr. Kwabena Dufo has got all these. But then my problem is one issue. The challenge we have in Ghana has got to do with having the political will to, you know, simply call people to order, people from your own party. And I don't have any information about him, about his ability, you know, to be firm. I don't know whether he's, you know, that principled individual who will not allow people to take the public interest for granted and get away with it. So Ghana needs some such person who will be able to put his feet down, call a spade, when it has got to do with his own party members. I don't know anything about him from that angle. We get the information from Dr. Sai, so you want to conclude that Kojo Bonsu has got some such skills. He's tough and strong, and even here in Kumasi at the KMA, he could do what he did. But that is really a feather in his cap. Coming back to President Mahama on this very issue, we know in the Fourth Republic of Ghana, I stand to correction, but I think he's the only one who has, you know, seen to, you know, somebody he has put in a high position of trust and who didn't really give a good account of his stewardship, seen to it that, you know, the judicial system simply, the guy is taken through the judicial system and if he could come out, then that was it. The person didn't, you know, come out, and I think he did go to, or he did serve some time. So President Mahama, although generally also was rocked with some issues, you know, about corruption in his party, but then at least he has something to share with all of us. So, you know, if you put all these together, there's one thing President Mahama has that the others don't. You know, that raw experience in government, you know, and then going out It gives him another opportunity to sit back, examine the system, how it has been working, the challenges in government, what the current government could do or could not do. So I think he has gone through this, and to me, he has what we call gone through institutional change. And if he should get the opportunity to serve Ghana again, I expect a new President Mahama, a renewed, someone with knowledge, with understanding, and possibly with a stronger resolve to address the challenges facing the country.
Thank you for that very interesting reflection on these three candidates. Let me go back to Dr. Asah, find out whether the connection will be better now so we can pick his thoughts. Doc, can you hear me? Well, his connection is still not friendly right now. When I get back to him, I'll try to look at the other dynamics that we can consider. I would ask you, Dr. Amache Boateng, in terms of former President Mahama, he has had the opportunity of serving as president before, and we saw the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, and the ugly, if you like, under his tenure. Some have said, some have asked, if the former president wants to come back, and the picture has been painted that he is a saint now compared to what we're seeing, like most people would say. But has he learned enough from his errors that he would leverage or lean on to push himself back into that office? Do you feel he's learned enough? Because people say they listen to him and it's about this and that and saving the economy, but he's never been heard saying, so to speak, I have learned my lessons and I can do better. I feel I can do better. Some make those allegations. What's your thinking? Hello, Dr. Amache Boateng. If you're speaking, then you may have to unmute.
My system is unmuted.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Good, good. I'm saying that those making those cases against President Mahama are, if you like, running ahead of time. Because not until he's given the opportunity to lead, I don't think it's simply good on his part to behave as if he were the party's flag bearer. So for now, he has been addressing himself to current issues affecting all of us. But then when he gets the opportunity, and then the party gives him the nod, it is then that he will have to share with us where he's coming from, what he's learned over the years as a politician, culminating in his position as the president of the country, the lessons that he's gone, he's taken, experiences that he had, the challenges he encountered, and how he intends going about issues of those nature if given the opportunity. So I think we need to give him time, to address these issues. And I've no doubt that he will do that. He needs to tell us where he's coming from. He needs to tell us his own shortcomings in his government, the lessons he has learned going forward, what he's going to do. I think we need to give him the time and the opportunity to address these issues. It's too early now.
And so you feel that if there's going to be a John Mahama candidacy, and if he is going to be successful, one of the crucial areas he needs to tackle is what happened back then? Water under the bridge, yes, but where did I err? And how will I make things better given the opportunity again? He must categorically state that. That's what you're saying.
Then in the absence of that, we can't see a new John Mahama. We got to, he should be presented to us as a new John Mahama. Someone who has gone through change. He must address those issues to come out as a new John Mahama. Otherwise, we'll be looking at the same old person, and then the arguments of people making that case will become relevant.
I'm just looking at a message. We posted the John Mahama, his logo, for 2024. And we we sought reactions on JoyNews. I found this first one interesting. And this one says, it is the MPP that should bow its head in shame. How can you mess up so badly to the extent that the one considered not good enough is better off? Then you are worthless. Do share with me what your reflection is on that. Because it's been said time and again that, well, there were major problems during the John Dramani Mahama era. Many people will go to Dumsor. Some would cite the economic situation. Others would go as far as talking about corruption, though under him, comparatively, his administration oversaw one of their own being in the can. I'm talking about Abu Gapele. While in this administration, we're yet to see anything of that picture, though we're told about the Anas principle and everything in between. But this statement, people make time and again that John Mahama has been made to look like a saint, an angel, just because this administration has outperformed him in failure. What do you make of it? Is it the right way to look at matters, or is it just that this administration has been abysmal and the former administration under John Mahama may have been better? What is your understanding of that issue?
I think there are two different issues altogether. The performance of President Mahama, his capacity as a leader. You realize that given the experience he has had, the issues are addressed not long ago. He should be able to do better if he should find himself in office because of the experience he's had, the knowledge that he even has acquired while he has been in opposition. Observing what is going on and taking notes of his own actions and inactions, many those that especially Ghanaians simply didn't like. So he has a rare opportunity. But then, if you look at the current challenges that we have, it is unprecedented. It's monumental. It's monumental. I mean, everybody has been let down, given the fact that this government has been blessed with so much money, so much so that no government in Ghana since independence has simply benefited from, and there's practically nothing on the ground. Not long ago, it just came to light that this COVID thing also was a blessing for Ghana. Ghana rather benefited in terms of monies coming in. So the excuses simply now hold no water, and they really emphasize, the terrible governance that Ghanaians have had to, go through. So there are two different things. President Mahama had his own challenges. Definitely, he didn't have the amount of money that this government had, and Dumsor cannot necessarily be blamed on him. Dumsor came in.
It's a legacy problem.
Sorry.
It's a legacy problem that he resolved.
It's a legacy issue. So when looking at Dumsor, you want to look at his reaction to it. And then now that he's not in office, if we think that Ghana's energy crisis is beyond us now, then definitely we want to go back and give the credit to John Mahama, and not necessarily to someone who tried to even review the Ameri deal and ended up creating such a mess, so much so that the president's personal secretary should have been sacked or resigned himself. Some president might even resign because of the action of his personal secretary. And look at the irony. He's at post. And then poor minister, Ajako something.
Wachi Ajako.
Wachi Ajako. The president's personal secretary should have been a gatekeeper and stop that thing from happening. I will put the blame first and foremost on the president's personal secretary, and then two on the president before Wachi Ajako. So all these things, with all these developments, you can't take for granted the impact of President Mahama in addressing the challenge of the energy crisis. You can't take for granted. It's obvious that MPP would have messed it up terribly.
Now, when you look at contemplating the next leadership of our country, And that is what whoever gets the nod in the NDC and whoever will get the nod in the MPP will be gunning for. The MPP says it wants to break the 8. The NDC says it wants to return and restore to the people what the people deserve. But that person, whoever he will be or whoever she will be, will have his or her work cut out for him or her. Looking at where we find ourselves in terms of the fight against corruption, in terms of the economy, in terms of the fight against galamsey, I mean, you name it, in terms of schools under trees, in terms of, I was just talking about vaccine shortages. I've not heard of such a thing in a long time. It's happening now. I mean, vaccines for children, that is like, it's unthinkable that you would, in Accra and in many other places, many other regions, Koforidua, Wa, Bolga, there's a shortage. I mean, I don't know what is happening, but it is clear that whoever takes over will really have his or her work cut out for him or her. So what would be your expectations in that regard for whoever takes over?
Then the challenge is daunting. And I believe strongly that this is one major reason why we need President Mahama, someone who has been there before and who has been around all this while that Ghana simply has been run down, and all these challenges are facing us now. It got to do with what political scientists will say politics, resource allocation. Someone who has been there before sits at home, and then he has a general understanding of the challenge, and then definitely tentative solutions. Of course, he'll be contemplating on some of these all by himself, but in government, definitely he will be able to bring the right caliber of individuals around him. This experience will also show in the people he puts together to work with. And there's one thing. He himself, together with the MDC, has been talking about the need for the size of government to be reduced. It means, therefore, that if they should come into power, this challenge would be addressed, head on, because they can't make a U-turn. So the expectations are that we need an experienced individual, someone who has been there before. And then all the other issues will have to be, addressed from that angle, putting up a team, ministers, CEOs. The Constitution gives the president that, all powers to appoint everybody who matters in the country. So you need to have the experience. Otherwise, you come in, you don't really understand what is happening. You're overwhelmed by the size of the powers, simply reposing you. And we've seen that in the first years of new governments. They simply don't know what to do. They spend a lot of time working out all these issues. So
right.
I think, yes, the challenges are with us here, they are daunting. But then Ghana finds itself in also this interesting situation where we have a former president who has been voted out and is desiring to come back. Why is he coming back? Is he just coming back to repeat the old mistakes? No. I see a sense of purpose. And so I think, yes, we're going to go through challenges simply because, putting money together is the main challenge. And it should be possible for, this new person to understand the situation and possibly, find ways out. So these are some of the expectations that I have.
All right. Let me bring in Dr. Asa, who is back. Doc, you've missed a chunk of the conversation. We're beginning to wrap the conversation. I'd like you to focus on 3 quick things, and the last 2 I'll bring to Dr. Kwesi Amachibwateng to deliver his final comments on. Whoever takes over from this administration will have a tall order to get down to. It's been said that that person would inherit quite a situation, likely an IMF deal, a broken economy, and so much corruption, so to speak. What would be your expectations of whoever takes over, whether from the NDC or the MPP? And I just want both of you... Yeah, okay, so go ahead with that thought. Go ahead with that thought. Go ahead.
I said it will be a daunting task on anyone who will be taken over because, as we all agree, we are in a a difficult situation now as a country in terms of the economy, and even the expectations of the citizens are so high that the person who will be coming needs to really get himself organized before coming.
Right.
I think it's an opportunity for anyone who will be coming now not to be campaigning only, but really reaching out to the experts in this country. I always say that Ghana is blessed with a lot of knowledge. If you look at all the areas that we are struggling now, we have expertise. And I think anyone who will be taking the mantle of the state to really get to the universities. I'm not saying that because I'm actually in the university, but if you look at the structure of of any nation, why do you spend so much in education, especially higher level of education? Building universities is not to just teach students, but they are the basis for generating the knowledge required for the development of the country. So I think the current situation, anyone who is coming, particularly the manifesto that will be coming out and getting to the National Development Planning Commission and all the district assemblies so that we understand how to build a local economy. You see, most often we try to look at the macro economy without looking at the local economy. And as we say, if the bases are wrong, then you have it tough at the top. So I think anyone who becoming needs to really harness the resources that we have in this country in terms of the knowledge. What do we need to do to change the mindset of Ghanaians? As we speak now, we have agreed that we have over important things that we have comparative advantage of producing. How do we change the attitude and taste of Ghanaians so that we buy and eat Ghanaian products? How do we let the politician know that, look, this avenue of politics is not for you to come and make money? So the one who will be coming as the president need to let his appointees and people who are coming on board to know that it's not an avenue to come and make money, but I'm bringing you on board to come and help change the situation for the betterment of Ghanaians.
Right.
So these are the things that I'm expecting whoever will be coming, whether it's John Mahama, of the contendants, or coming from the NPP angle. They are in power now.
Right.
They may have a little challenge because when you are writing your own script, you find it difficult to really correct it.
Okay.
So they may have a challenge in terms of understanding the issues better. But
Dr. Azar, we have to go, but I just want both of you to take a bite at this in some 20 seconds each. The Parliament adopting the CI to make the Ghana card the sole registration document by a majority decision. What is your quick reflection on that in some 20 seconds? I'll start with you, Dr. Azar, before I wrap with Dr. Amachibwati.
Okay, you are talking of the Ghana card?
Yes.
Let me just get that quickly again, please.
It's been adopted by a majority decision to be the sole registration document. And I just wanted your quick reflection on that by Parliament.
Yes. To me, I think it's important that as we progress in the country, we should have a consolidated data. And if the Ghana card and then the NAI is the basis that we want to build on. But as whether it's going to be done now is a challenge. Do we have every Ghanaian with a card? If you don't have every Ghanaian with a card, you could disenfranchise some people.
Right.
And I think that is where the NIA needs to really work harder to get every Ghanaian with a card. And as soon as that is done, it makes the data more consolidated and easier for us to work on.
Dr. Azar, we are immensely grateful for your time. Thank you so much for having joined the conversation. Dr. Amachibwati, you have the final take in some 20 seconds on that same bit.
Yeah, generally, I think, yes, the Ghana card is the way forward. But to me...
Hello? Hello, Dr. Amachibwati. I was hoping he would be able to come back and... so he said that it's the way to go, but I suspect he was about to say that maybe the timing, whether we should be using it for this current election is not. But I just wanted him to confirm rather than speak for him. One last time, Dr. Amachibwati, can you hear me? Okay, well, it appears it's a lost cause now, but I've really enjoyed the conversation. We had Dr. Kwesi Amachibwati, political scientist at the KNUST, and Dr. Sumaila Asa, a development expert and senior lecturer at CK University of Technology and Applied Sciences. Both of them joined us for this conversation. But also on the show, we'll be talking about post-harvest losses and how our government can mitigate that situation. It's very common to see heaps of oranges rotting by the side of the road in the Abura, Asebu, Kwamankese district. Now, the farmers in the district, after months of hard work, failed to either break even or even make a profit from their toil. Richard Kwejunyako traveled to that district, and here is his report.
We started this farm when I gave birth to my first son. He's almost 40 years. When he was 36, my husband passed on, and so it became very difficult for me to manage the farm. 60-year-old Araba Ayidana has been farming here at Nyamidom for more than 4 decades. In those days when she started, the citrus was like gold. It served her well. I managed it small, and I was told by my son that there was a factory that was springing up to help us manage our farm. I told him to help me so I could cater for the children. As years grew by, she lost hope, lost almost every interest she had in the citrus business. Selling the oranges comes with some difficulty. When they come for the oranges, payment even becomes difficult. Many do not want to even pay after coming for the oranges. When it happens like that, you become disillusioned. If the factory will help, it will be better than allowing the oranges to just rot by the roadside. The people that act as agents for the buyers really cheat us. Sometimes you're unable to break even. You run into losses and unable to pay the people who carry the oranges to the roadside and weed the farms. It's been 15 years my husband passed on, and it became difficult for me to manage things. The entire Abura Asebu Kwamankese district is noted for the production of citrus. The Agricultural Extension Services census states that the district is the #1 producer of oranges in the entire country, with over 2,000 registered citrus farmers and about 7,000 unregistered ones. Citrus farmers like Araba Ayidana toil day and night to till the land, labor to care for the plants, contract loans to buy pesticides, and all the things that are needed to make sure they have their own share of their bumper harvest. But they virtually labor in vain. The oranges are left by the roadside for lack of markets for the produce.
This district is known for citrus. Over the years, we used to have a citrus factory in Asebu called Erus, and unfortunately it is collapsed. And that was the hope of our farmers, our fathers, and our brothers and sisters over here. After the collapse of the factory, things had been really hard for the people. And these farmers, they lost hope actually. So most of them abandoned their farms. When you go to a village like Aswanse, Yamidom, it's a highly populated citrus community. And they left their farms for about 10 years. And they even started cutting them off.
Michael Amos is a community liaison officer for the Central Citrus Processing Limited, a factory that is galvanizing the hopes and aspirations of all the farmers in the district.
But fortunately for us, we have this factory in place that we've been engaging the farmers, and in fact, we are bringing hope to them. They have stopped cutting down their trees, their farm trees, and we've contracted them. We have taken over their farms. We've started weeding the farms, so we have actually revived their hopes. In fact, initially they thought it was something that we are come to brag about, because most factories or people have been coming here. The funny aspect is that, or the sad thing is that, when these Abidjan people, the Ivorians, they come, they promise them, oh please, we are coming today, so harvest your fruit for us. They will harvest them, put them by the roadside for a week or two, they will not come. By the time they come, most of the fruits are already rotten, and they come with their own price too. So at the end of the day, the farmer will contract somebody to pluck the fruit, somebody will be carrying the fruit, the roadside, they will pay them, the farmers will pay them. But when the Ivorians come, they give them their own price. So at the end of the day, they run to your cost. So they were not getting anything from this. But with this factory in place, I think there's hope for the farmers.
The factory aims at restoring the livelihood of the aged through the automation of the energies of the youth linked with industrialization of the value chain. The youth of the community who had lost hope as a result say they've seen a resurgence of confidence among the community folk, and that makes them extremely happy.
Instead of them,
we always see the oranges rotten by the roadside, so the farmers do not get anything. It's disheartening to see that, but once the factory is starting, they can bring them here for them to buy and use them. My grandmom cut all her citrus and advised us to stay off the business of citrus because it doesn't help.
Mostly because of income na make I be kwane kutu betume gu kwan ho aonya atofo mo omba moto na kutu gu kwan abona kutu na say like I dey say no.
It's very common to see the oranges by the roadside, and they don't get market for the oranges. The farmers get overly worried. Now they've been registered. We hope the factory works to deal with the challenge.
Because even though I'm in farmers in Baby I register, I start to get to work to even though no community I want there, this way go ever on now almost so it's me at home work to product.
Like Abra Sebu saying, farmers in the area and say, Kutuno would be sometimes Bokono be with you to buy 3 acres. No way training no way, dear baby, and I say, you couldn't agricos for no water or my price, papa. See. The best is a butcher, not it.
Here in the Abra Sebu Kwamankesi area, the farmers don't even get value for what they cultivate. The buyers just offer them just anything, and sometimes they don't even pay.
A pineapple juice. Now at the same time, we're not saying I'm a Juma about to my answer you to the in your beer. This is how I factory. Maybe sure. I'm rest assured say you could be good because the last time my colleagues be me you are in your factory. Nananga what we factory and I so we here kutuna even a abricos one they can't come and take orange from this place and send it to their own place because now house say no so kutuno on ton in a good price.
The community liaison officer Michael Amos discusses the new arrangement that appears to give some hope to the farmers.
We have an arrangement with the farmers that we are taking over. Most of these farmers are aged. In fact, because they're not getting anything from their farms, the youth are no more interested in doing the citrus farming. So we are signing an agreement, 10-year agreement with them, that we are taking over the farm. We are doing the reading, we are doing the pruning, the spraying, harvesting. In fact, everything that needs to be done in the farm are going to be done by the factory. At the end of the year, per acre, we have a price for the farmer. So we have 20 acres depending, then we have the price and we multiply with it. So, and it's very good for them. It's very good for them. So that is the arrangement for now with the surrounding communities. This district is a citrus-based community. every village, you have about 2 or 10 farmers who have orange or lime. We are running from Isando Chrome, Aswanse, Yamedong, Gutubu, Apiosika, Abrodunko, Asebu. And we are even going to a community in Fantaman district called Ishiro, Pepiase, we are at Ifutu, Mampong, Cape Coast district, Jokwa, Unisin. In fact, we have more than 200 districts. People are now coming in. They are now calling. Initially, they thought we were not coming. But once we started the weeding, we started the pruning, they now seen that we are serious with whatever we are telling them. So they are now even calling us to come and register them.
The chief of Abra Odum, Nana Balfour Afena, says the community will support the company to ensure that it survives.
That's a report by Richard Kojo Inyako, and he's talking about post-harvest losses. Joining me for this conversation is Professor Julius Hagen. He's with the UCC School of Agric. Prof, good morning, and thank you so much for your time. Prof, if you can hear me, good morning, and thank you so much for your time. Do we have Prof on the line? All right, let me try for the last time. Professor Julius Hagen is with the UCC School of Agric, and we're going to discuss post-harvest losses. Prof, if you can hear me, good morning, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
All right, now let's talk about the post-harvest losses and the feature we just played. What are your initial reactions to this?
Yeah, good morning to your viewers and listeners. I think this is not the first time I've heard this issue of post-harvest losses in citrus. And it's not only in citrus, almost all agricultural produce, we have this problem. And when I listen to the news, I get a bit disturbed. It makes farming unattractive to especially the youth. And these are some of the issues we need to tackle as soon as possible. Otherwise, we are going to lose a chunk of the youth who will be interested in going into farming. I believe the issue is bigger than what we see. And I'm happy there is a factory now which is going to address some of their issues. As I said, it goes beyond just putting up a factory. Most often than not, we apply what we call the knee-jerk approach to some of these agriculture-related problems. Setting up a factory is good, but it goes beyond that, as I said. If you have factories, sometimes you expect the factory to run throughout the year. But how often are they going to get the citrus or the orange to process into whatever they want to process, whether juice or any other product? Sometimes the factory will be in operation for some time and they will not be getting the raw materials, and that is also another issue. So it is bigger than what we see, and I sympathize with the farmers and the community because all the effort, energy they put in, they are now becoming disappointed, and it's an issue which we need to address as a nation.
All right, so you mentioned raw materials and lack of factories, but like what exactly is causing this? Like what are some of the issues that the farmers are facing?
Yeah, post-harvest losses is like a chain. It starts from even before you harvest. What are some of the things you need to do? When you go to countries where citrus is produced in large quantities, there are certain standards. There are certain things you need to do as a farmer. So you need to understand at what point do you have to harvest the fruit, Because if you don't harvest it at the right time, the post-harvest losses start from that end. And we know you cannot completely eliminate post-harvest losses, just that you can reduce the extent. In our part of the world, it can be up as high as 50% post-harvest losses, which means if you harvest, let's say, 100 fruits, about 50 of them will go bad by the time it gets to the final consumer.
Yeah.
So the time you harvest is very key. At what point do you harvest? As to whether the farmers actually know the specific age at which the fruits are harvested is very key. If you harvest it too late, it affects it. If you harvest it too early, it will lead to post-harvest losses. Then after harvesting, how are the fruits packaged or stored? I don't know whether the factory will come and harvest the fruit and send it to the factory, or the farmers are supposed to harvest it, put it in the packaging containers, and send them to, because the process the fruit will go through can also affect the extent of losses they are likely to incur. So the time of harvesting, the packaging, and how long it takes for the fruit after harvesting to get to the factory. The factory may have to come out with some strategies to be able to ensure they reduce the post-harvest losses to the barest minimum. Other than that, what they are estimating, they may not get. Look at on your screen, I can see fruits spread on the ground, and this is a fertile ground for post-harvest losses. There's what we call fungal infection. Sometimes start from even on the tree to the point of harvest. When you put them on the ground, for instance, you are even increasing post-harvest losses. And these are some of the issues we expect that they address. Other than that, putting up the factory alone is not going to solve the problem. So from the farm, whether they have middlemen who go to the farm direct and harvest, send it to the factory, or the factory does that, I would have expected the factory will have some trucks which will go to the farm and do the harvesting. So from the farm straight to the factory. What I expect the factory to have a warehouse where the fruit are stored there before they are processed. If they're able to do that, then they are going to reduce the post-harvest losses drastically. So these are some of the things they may have to do in order to reduce the loss, because there are several factors that can result in the post-harvest losses.
Well, you mentioned factories, but government can't set up factories everywhere in the country. What are some of the practical steps, or what are some of the practical things that farmers can do before, eliminating the factory segment or element?
Okay. I don't even endorse putting up several factories, because like I said, I don't know the quantity of citrus they produce in a year. I'm not too sure how much, because if you put up a huge factory, they may have to run for a few months and close them down. Or because some of the factories that process fruit, they have to import fruit from outside the country because we don't have enough.
Yeah.
And some of these fruits are seasonal. So within a particular period, season, you get a lot of them. When they are out of season, you don't get. So where are you going to get the fruit? Unless you harvest enough, you store them and use them over a period of time. So I'm not too sure the number of factories is the solution. But when you go to some countries, what they do, they have small cottage industries. So some of the farmers, maybe they come together within an enclave. They can have a small processing plant, very small one. Then immediately they harvest, they process them into fruit juice.
Okay.
That one can store longer. So you process them into fruit juice, then you package them nicely, and you send them to the market. It's one of the ways we can use to reduce the post-harvest losses. So they have simple machines, processing plants, which are even some of them are movable. So you move them from farm to farm, they do the processing, or within an enclave, they all come together, they do the processing, somebody takes it off from the farm. So it's one of the things they can do. Then they can also come together, harvest enough, then they send them to the factory. So, but as I said, the timing of the harvest is also very key. The farmers may have to be trained when are they supposed to harvest, and what are some of the practices they may have to go through. Sometimes the practices they also undertake on their farms predispose these fruits to some losses, especially fungal attack. So the farmer should be able to detect the presence of fungal attack on their fruit, which they can apply some fungicides to control them or do proper farm sanitation to be able to reduce the infection. When that happens, then it means they are also reducing the post-harvest losses. Then the packaging. Sometimes you see a truck load of fruit and you realize that the truck is full. So by the time it gets to the final destination, the fruit below, most of them would have gotten spoiled because of the pressure.
Yeah.
So the packaging is also very important. How do they package them? You go to advanced countries, they have simple packaging material. So instead of putting the fruit in the truck, tie them up, you can put them in packaging materials, and you put one, what do you call it? Is it container, the plastic container or wooden container? You put them on top, just like they do for tomatoes. Because the more you put fruit on top of the other one, the pressure you put on them, by the time you get to your final destination, quite a number of them. And sometimes you see even human beings sitting on top of these trucks. Yeah, so these are some of the practices you may have to avoid. Other than that, we can't do much. Then you go to where they sell some of these fruits too. They expose them to the sun. When you pass them, when you are going from Accra to Takoradi, Cape Coast to Takoradi Road, you see a lot of the fruit on the ground under the sun. It rains and the sun shines. And these are some of the things that can expose fruit to post-harvest losses.
Yeah.
When you are selling fruit, you don't expose them to the sun. At least you have a shade, you put them under the shade so that you reduce the extent of the sun rays on these fruits. So farmers and even the sellers, they also have to be educated on how some of these things can be done. Then consumers, some of us also buy the fruit, and we can also contribute to post-harvest losses. The quantity you need, you buy that quantity. You don't buy more than you need, and you go and put them in your kitchen or your balcony, whatever. By the time you finish consuming, half of them is gone bad. So all of us have a role to play. The government has a role, farmers have a role to play, consumers, you also have a role to play. And when we all play our role very well, I think it will go a long way to help reduce these post-harvest losses, because it affects their income, their livelihood, and all that. You see quite a lot of food gotten rotten. And
all right, Prof, before I let you go, your final thoughts on this and the way forward. All right, it seems like we might have lost Professor Julius Hagen, and he's an associate professor at the UCC School of Agric, and he's been giving us... Yeah, Prof, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted your final remarks.
Yeah, so what I would say is that as a country, we need to ask ourselves what is our comparative advantage when it comes to agriculture, just like we have had for cocoa. You know, cocoa has we have Cocoa Research Institute, and they are responsible for every aspect of cocoa. So if you want to be a cocoa farmer, you don't go and look for your own seed. You don't do whatever you want to do, but rather you go through some processes because Cocoa Research or Cocoa Board has set out the responsibility is not to go and look for market. It doesn't happen in any advanced country. But here, because we don't do farming as a business, farmers have to go around looking for market. It doesn't happen in any advanced country. The farmer's responsibility is to grow. At the end of the day, marketing is not the farmer's responsibility.
Yeah.
So we ask ourselves, is citrus one of the three crops we want to promote? Then we should have structures in place. What type of citrus do we have to grow? Where do we have to grow it? What type of soil? All these things must be properly done so that farmers know that if I plant an acre, 10 acres, 100 acres, somebody is coming to buy at the end of the day. It's not the farmer's responsibility. Trying out, looking for, now the factory will dictate how much, as to whether the farmers have an idea how much they put in. If you have an acre of citrus farm, how much have you spent? So when the factory comes and says, I'll give you A or B, will you be able to say, no, if you pay me A, I've lost? Because you should be able to calculate your cost of production so that whoever comes, you can bargain using the right figures. But as it is, they are now at the mercy of the factory.
Yeah.
So whatever price the factory gives them, they have no choice because the fruit is going to go bad. And this is pathetic. One of the farmers was saying the Ivorians come and buy, and the price they gave them was not
good,
active enough. So which means they have no choice. It is the buyer who dictates the price, which shouldn't be the case. So the farmer should be empowered such that they know how much has gone in, and they can decide how much I can sell. Other than that, I'll run at a loss. So before they even start planting, they should have an idea how much I'm going to sell, how much have I put in, and in doing that, they will be able to detect their profit margin. Other than that, you put in all your energy, all the money, and at the end of the day, you don't get anything. I don't think it's attractive.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof, for that. That is Professor Julius Hagen, and he's an associate professor with the UCC School of Agric, and he's been giving us some pointers on how farmers can avoid or reduce post-harvest loss. One of them being planting at the right time and also harvesting at the right time, and also maybe we can, the farmers can get some sort of processing plant so that after from the farm to the processing plants to create some sort of fruit juices, and packaging of the raw materials. Packaging and transportation of the raw materials is a very, very key factor in reducing post-harvest losses. You're still watching the AM show. After this, we'll be having a conversation on Nigeria's elections. They are heading to the poll tomorrow, and it's going to be a very, very interesting one, so stay with us.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, before we get interactive with you, how about we head to Nigeria? You know what is happening there, elections. And is it going to be Tinubu, Atiku, or Obi? Well, joining us for a conversation, we have Kayla Megwa. He's a journalist with Channels TV in Abuja. Kayla, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us here on the AM show.
Good morning. Good to be here.
It's awesome having you, in fact. Tell us, in recent times, we have seen what has transpired in Nigeria in terms of the currency, in terms of myriad issues on the economy, but the elections are upon us. What is the latest you can tell us from Nigeria in terms of the preparations ahead of the elections?
Well, officially, campaigns are over. When you can't talk about any political party, at least since midnight yesterday. So officially, the campaigns are over. Everything is geared towards ensuring that these elections are free, fair, and seamless. As you can see from the visuals there, those are from the FCT INEC office, so the Independent National Electoral Commission office for the nation's capital. And these things you're seeing in the background, the things in the black boxes, those are the BVAS machines that are being distributed to the 6 area councils. It was going to be all over the country, really, but with the visuals you're seeing right there from the nation's capital, that's Abuja, which is where we are. And you're seeing the resident electoral commissioner there speaking to everyone who's supposed to make this work. So between last night and this morning, these trucks have been housing election materials that are supposed to be used to conduct the elections in Abuja. So they were sent to the 6 area councils between yesterday night and this morning. So everything is on ground. Security forces have been speaking to the nation, talking about how ready they are for the elections. Also talking about, how people should conduct themselves. Of course, there's restricted movement, except people who are going to cast their votes in the polls tomorrow. So interesting to say that tomorrow, the elections are tomorrow. So yes, everything is working out. Materials are getting to the different areas, the polling units. In the nation's capital, at least, we have about over 1 million registered voters, and the INEC resident electoral commissioner for the FCT was speaking up yesterday night and saying he's hoping that everybody comes out, everyone who has their PVC comes out and takes part in this electoral process, that all that is needed for it to be free, fair, and seamless has been deployed.
What is the general mood in Abuja ahead of the elections?
Well, it's one of those elections where we actually cannot say who is going to win this election. For many years we've had a two-party system, really. Well, many political parties, but there will just be 2 parties, and then we had to choose between one of them. But this particular election sees the emergence of a third and a fourth force. So there's no way of saying this is the person who's going to win the elections by a landslide. That's almost impossible to say this time. We have so many young people. In fact, 13 million new registered voters, 70% of which are young people. So this bubbling youthful population of Nigeria is going to be taking part in this electoral process, hopefully, because we're watching to see if that happens. It's easy for a lot of people to talk but not take any action. But from the feelers we're getting, a lot of people are looking forward to being a part of this process. In fact, yesterday, while we were at the FCT INEC office in Abuja, we saw some people at the gate still complaining that they couldn't get their permanent voter cards. It's a continuous registration process, yes, but for this election, if you haven't got your permanent voter card, I'm sorry, you're not going to be a part of the process. So it was interesting to see them even the day before saying, look, we really want to be able to do this, but for some reason or the other, they're not going to be able to take part in the process. But a general mood in the city is, let's see what happens, because we cannot predict this one. We actually have to see how the turnout is. Does the BVAS work?
Right.
The accreditation, is it going to work? Are we going to be able to transmit the results electronically? Just a lot of questions, but we'll be watching to see how it all plays out tomorrow.
Let's talk about the lead up to the elections. We've seen the campaigning from all the sides, like I mentioned, Atiku, Tinubu, and Peter Obi, who has become that third force. But I followed the news and got wind of some vandalizing that had happened to some of these voting centers with quick action from your electoral body. We've also heard news just this past Wednesday of senatorial candidate Oyibo Chukwu, who was gunned down. What have these antecedents, led to in the build-up to the election? What are people saying? How has this impacted the exercise?
Unfortunately, this is something that we see a lot in elections in Nigeria. In fact, for this election, one of the biggest fears journalists have is post-election violence. We don't know how people are going to take the results. But yes, in the build-up to the elections, like you said, we've seen some very disappointing stories. People burned to death, gunned down, political rivalries that have led to violence. We've seen all of that happen. The vandalization of INEC's, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC's infrastructure in many parts of the country. A lot of these things are very disappointing, but they have been happening. But INEC has assured the country that no matter what the attacks have been on their infrastructure, they will be holding this election. I remember saying this to your station a few days ago that this election date is sacrosanct. It's not moving. It's going to be tomorrow, no matter what happens, no matter whose ox is gone, no matter who's uncomfortable with it. They have said they are going to hold this election on the 25th, and that's happening tomorrow. So yes, in the build-up to the election, a lot of this violence, actually not just that, even a cash crunch has, we're looking to see how that's going to impact the polls tomorrow. A lot of things have been happening. The violence has been disappointing, especially in many parts of the country. Regardless of these acts of violence and these vandalisms that have been going on, the elections are still going to hold according to the Electoral Commission, and we're watching to see how it all plays out.
Do tell me, from when to when will the elections be held in terms of time?
So as long as you're in the polling units at 2, you will be allowed to vote. So new entrants will not be taken into the polling units from 2 o'clock, but as long as you get to that polling station at 2 p.m., between morning and 2 p.m. So if you get there at 2 p.m., you will be allowed to cast your vote no matter what time it ends. All right. So that's the key. Everyone has to be there at 2 p.m. at least for their votes to count, for them to be able to cast their votes in this election. So that's what we're looking at for tomorrow. When it comes to collation, after that, of course, we'll have the collation bit. Then we'll also have the announcement bit. And then after that, we'll have a lot of other things coming up in the days. It takes about 3 to 5 days, in my experience, for the whole work of presidential elections to be done and an announcement made. But yes, for the polls tomorrow, as long as you get to the polling station at 2 p.m., you will be able to cast your vote.
What would you say are the crucial issues that have, been topical, that have taken the spotlight ahead of these elections? Here in Ghana, usually would be talking about the performance of a government in terms of the economy, the fight against corruption, galamsey, which is illegal mining, and all of that. What have been the issues, the core issues in the build-up to this election?
So basically, unifying the country has been a very major topic. A lot of people feel like Nigeria is more divided now than ever before along tribal and ethnic and religious lines. One of the conversations leading up to this election was about the tickets, Muslim tickets, North-South tickets. These are some of the things that have been coming up. So a major issue for the country right now is to instill in Nigerians a sense of nationalism. Who is that president who will make us feel like we are a nation and not just a country of different parts? Another issue that has been discussed in the run-up to these elections is also the economy. We're seeing an inflation rate, and of course, cash crunch, of course, has affected the buying and selling of many people who rely on those kinds of businesses for their daily lives. So someone who would boost the economy. Another issue that we've been dealing with as a country is insecurity. We've seen a lot of kidnappings going on in recent times. We've seen a lot of, disappointing situations, that have given the country pause. So who is going to ensure that our security is assured? Nigerians need to feel a sense of security. That's something else that's going on. And then, of course, there's the big one, which is corruption. We've seen the anti-corruption fight of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration. Is there someone who's going to build on that? Are there still some loopholes that need to be covered? Of course there are. Are there areas that people need to feel more comfortable with, especially in public service? Yes, indeed. So these are some of the areas that are making forefront conversations as the elections come up. Who is going to be the one to ensure that security is assured for Nigerians? The economy gets the boost, the much needed boost that it needs. We've not really been able to fully recover after COVID-19 here. So who's going to do that? Who is going to ensure that the country is unified? Who is going to ensure that Nigerians have a sense of nationality? These are the questions and these are the answers we'll be hoping to get whenever who wins this election gets into office.
Maybe just to cap off the conversation, unless you have any final words, but I'd like to find out, in other jurisdictions, you would have polls that would predict that, this or that person would be able to secure the votes needed to win this election. I hear what you're saying, that this time there is a third dynamic, and that third dynamic is Peter Obi, so it's not so clear. Maybe it's too close to call, but have there been any such polls in Nigeria? Is there a system like that? And if so, what have they said? What have they suggested?
But the thing about polls in Nigeria is that it depends on who's holding the poll and
Right.
where the area of concentration is. We've seen polls that have actually picked all of the candidates as the potential winner for this election. Polls have been going on social media, everywhere. There's so many polls in Nigeria right now about who they think is going to win this election. But like I said, it's too close to call. This is one of those elections where we really cannot predict. We have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. If the young people who have, said they're going to vote for a particular candidate all come out en masse the way they say they're going to, that 70% of 13 million people, if they're able to bring that to the polls tomorrow, we might see a paradigm shift in our elections in Nigeria. If they do not, we will now have to deal with a situation where we have two parties that have always been in the elections, and now it's based on their popularity and then maybe on who their choice of running mate was. It's a very dynamic election. And well, to be honest, too close to call, regardless of what the polls are. But we'll see what happens tomorrow.
And finally, just before I let go of you, so it means that technically there's a very high possibility of a runoff.
We don't know that yet. We don't know that yet for certain. What we do know is that this is an election that everyone is watching. The entire world is in Nigeria right now. The election observers from all over the world are in the country right now to see how it plays out at the polls. Because one thing we know about covering elections in Nigeria is that most of the time what you see on social media is not what plays out on the ground. We don't know if that's going to be the case today, so we're watching to see how that plays out. So yes, too close to call, but we do not know, cannot say. All we can do is watch.
Kayla, it's been really good interacting with you. Thank you for bringing us the scoop on what to anticipate ahead of elections in our sister country, Nigeria. Kayla Megwa is a journalist with Channels TV in Abuja. We're taking a bit of a breather. When we return, we'll attempt taking some of your thoughts before we go. Do stay. My director has directed that there will not be enough time, as you can see, for the calls. But we'll make it up to you starting from Monday. But you do know water is life. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you and me better. We have the perfect sizes for all purposes, 330 and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices. All you must do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So guess what? Choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. For bulk purchases, just call 0262 351 251. 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. Before we knock off, here are some birthday wishes to you, Elizabeth Eshen. Elizabeth Eshen, to you. It's from your brother Francis and the rest of the family. We wish you a happy birthday, Elizabeth. And this one is coming from a man to his wife, his love. He says, "My love, Gladys, today I celebrate you and all the love you bring to my life. I am so grateful for every moment spent with you and for the love that we share. Happy birthday, my love. I love you more than you can imagine." And he signs it off with his nickname, Pablo. And so from Pablo to you, Gladys, I hope you have a wonderful day. But how can we, especially after beating, trouncing, showing Barcelona the level yesterday, how can we forget to, wish a happy birthday to Anthony, one of the players of the Manchester United team? What do I say? I can say it with my chest out because we are Manchester United. Yeah. I know he will not watch this, but to him, a very happy birthday. On that note, I wish we could actually end with glory, glory, Man United. But anyway, This is how we cap it off on the AM show. Joy News Desk up next. Do stay.